Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is our final day here of Chinese Contenders. And God, it feels so good to be back in the booth with you, Mox. Oh, I'm soaking it in. I'm soaking it in. We've got 3-2s. We've been manifesting some of the best games we've seen in Chinese Contenders. Team CC is off in another region, and all of this wonderful talent has come up to fill their place. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
I mean, it's going to be a hell of a series for sure, and a hell of a season, because it's interesting that you say CC is off in another dimension. They're not in China for the first time, and it's the closest season of Chinese contenders that we have ever seen. This time last year, CC was just 3-0ing everybody in their path, but now we're having some really long, grueling fights, and that means that every single team standing has a chance of coming out on top, and they're all looking to prove themselves this week.
Yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and take a look at our bracket because it's hard to understate how close these games have been. You look at day one, it's 3-2s across the board. The top three that we've got going for us right now, Team Chaser, T1W, and Billy, have been going in circles. T1W's been slowly getting better and better. This 10-man roster is just unbelievably smart. Team Chaser's got star-studded just all the way up and down. And Billy has been honestly just undeniably incredibly consistent as far as these teams go. And that's one of the big things we're looking for this season because, it's Team CC left. We haven't really seen a lack of player ability or lack of team ability necessarily. So much as we've seen a little bit just more inconsistency, it's partially due to the teams being really close, but also I think there's some really interesting coaching going on.
Yeah, all of these teams have very different individual strengths, right? You touched on it there. Team Chase has an absolute star-studded lineup. These guys have so much pedigree to their name, and Aprita coming in as well as just that cherry on the top, and it's letting them come in and dominate teams 3-2 in some maps. Control point is by far their strongest, and that's when they can really allow Aprita to just go absolutely ham. But we also see T1W, that the matchup we're actually going to get to see today. It's a rematch. These guys met previously on Wednesday and went 3-2. But now we get to see that redemption arc possibility there for T1W, because the thing about T1W is how they adapt, how good they are at reading their opponent. And yeah, the first time they were up against Team Chaser on Wednesday, it took them one map to download that playstyle. They lost that first round of control horribly. You
Yeah, it
can't
wasn't
really
pretty.
describe it any other way. But then they're able to tie the series up, they're able to take it to another series of control, and they're able to walk away with a round because they figure out how Raprita likes to play, and they have this really good play style where they put all of their members into these different pockets with crowd control abilities absolutely everywhere. And then they take the high ground, where the Tracer, horizontal movement, sure, they're in spades, but verticality, a little bit lacking.
Yeah, so we can talk about this match in just a second, but I think it's time we get to what's actually important, Moxie, what all the casters, what all the professionals actually care about here, and that's the predictions. Because I mean, we've got some wild ones. They were all the same on day number one, save for Thibble, I think, putting FFF in his second prediction, and every day since they've just been wild across the board. A little bit more striation today between the votes, with a couple more people choosing to go some odd routes. I would like to point out one, a very, very handsome looking man with 3 points, four-letter name. Wow, Dor, really smart prediction there. Team Chaser in both matches. Honestly, I gotta say, that's the best prediction of the night.
Yeah, but it also should be mentioned, right, that if Team Chaser lose this first match, guess who's out of the prediction
But
on that
he,
last one of the night? You know how the coin turns.
but that's
If
not
you
gonna
pick
happen.
Chaser and they
I
don't make it through, you don't get to change your to be determined to be T1W against Billy.
I look, I read the script, I looked into the future, I got my tarot cards, I flipped coins, I did all the math, I ran the simulations, and I'm going against everybody. Everybody thinks it's Billy taking it. I'm going for the points. I think Team Chaser might be able to bring it all the way today, which brings us on to match number one, which incidentally they have to win first up against T1W. This is, like you mentioned, going to be a crazy match. This is brains versus brawn entirely in a nutshell.
Well, Brains T1W definitely has, but something else that they really have is that tank lineup. Right? The synergy that these guys have, they might not have the star-studded DPS, the style of Aprita. They don't put all of their resources into making sure that their DPS are the ones to be able to come in and finish these kills. But what they do so consistently well, and that's stay alive. And one person that's really impressed me, and I know has impressed you, is Jasper. This guy has an amazing Zarya, but when the team really needs him, he'll actually swap onto the D.Va so they can contest both the high ground and the low ground, meaning that a Pritter is kept in check a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, this season we talk a lot about DPS being very important. They've always been super integral to how the Chinese region likes to play Overwatch. And all these other teams have stacked DPS on. You know, we're talking about players like Aprita that are coming in, look to be the stars. You know, Pineapple's been putting up crazy numbers. Night God has the potential to. We've seen him get there. Akai's been putting up some pretty solid numbers, but T1W isn't necessarily a team that likes to play through the DPS line. You mentioned Jasper, but I want to highlight Physics, man.
Hmm.
This Zenyatta has been just bonkers. And the last time we saw these teams meet up, yeah, the brains versus brawn aspect was really cool to see T1W adapt was one thing, but one place where I felt T1W always had a leg up was in the Zenyatta play. I think he was a little bit behind, and Physics was just on point every single map.
Yeah, the twin senses were absolutely clutch. And another way that you can really track how well a Zen is fitting into a team is survivability, right? You're going to get to see Chase's roster in just a couple of seconds. And the one thing that every Zen main in this season is going to be fearing is that guy right there. There he is. That guy's Tracer. If he gets into your backline, your Zen should be dead. But T1W do a very good job at keeping Physics safe, at letting him build up to those transcenders and come in clutch. That's not to say that the rest of Team Chaser is something to be slept on, right? These names, they stand out. If you've been anywhere near the season of Chinese Contenders, you're going to be recognizing them. They've been around the block, they're back, they're here to prove that they've still got it, and now they've got a Pritter in their ranks. And Kenobi actually touched on Wednesday, I believe, about how Team Chaser play, which is very similar to New York XL in 2018, right? And cast in mind back, that was a long time ago. But another way that Team Chaser play like New York XL is that they recognize that a Predator is their strength, and very similar to how every single resource was pumped from Meko, Mano, Arc, Libero, all of these guys into setting Jonak up. Well, Team Chaser do just the same with their DPS.
Yeah, and they do it in a pretty interesting way, right? This is not a team that says, okay, we're going to play our game, but, you know, it's just this one guy carrying. No, they're very intelligently putting resources into a Prita, not just by, hey, here's a brig pack, here's a bubble from our Zarya, but the interesting thing that we'll see, especially when we get to our control point, which we're starting off on Nepal, is how they give away space in front of them to allow a Prita more space behind the enemy team. It's really an integral part of how this match played out last time. It affected map one just hugely, but T1W, whether or not they're able to adapt to that on the first try this time, is going to be the big question that we're looking for.
Yeah, T1W, it's normally so important that teams need to win that first fight in control, right? It sets you up for the stall potential, so even if that second fight goes south, you still get so much point percentage. But for T1W, it's extra crucial that they're able to pick this up because that means they're the ones in control of the space, and a Predator doesn't just get to hang back, wait for Team Chaser to set him up, and then allow him to just run absolutely wild. T1W at the moment seeming like they want to come out with this main. If there's one thing that you do want to have to stop the Tracer in the tracks and set your Reinhardt up to get those charges, it is the Mei. A lot of this now is going to be who can hit that Blizzard first and who can hit the Sign Barrier to counter it.
Yeah, it's worth noting, this was, I believe, Team Chaser's map pick, so they have the strats here. They know what they want to go for, and so far, it's not working out for him. Aprita doesn't even get a chance to wall before the push from T1W comes in. They've got all the space in the world now to work with. The Reinhardt's forced back, a way better position right now for Night God, who has the priority wall, uses it to take down Aprita, and the rest of this fight should be fairly simple. They've got the pressure to move forward with the tanks and the Mei. It's just about making sure they don't overextend.
Well, you can see that Raindrop is going to make sure that they stay just within the ranks to keep that Lucio healing up. And we talked about it, T1W, they had to win that first fight, and they've done exactly that. One thing it should be mentioned, though, is that they're not necessarily worried about a Predator getting behind their backs. It's going to be Taro Cookie on the Sombra that is going to be so hard to deal with, especially with Raindrop so far away from that Sound Barrier. If Taro Cookie is able to hit that EMP before the Sound Barrier is up, even if Physics is using that Immortality Field, you still set yourself up to be able to come in with a massive win condition.
That's an if for later. We're looking at the current fight, and with an amplification matrix out, T1W take a lot of space. X-Ray immediately running for the backline, gets sectioned off. This team's been bisected in half by the entirety of T1W diving on the Reinhardt. Fortunately, no one goes down. Late Young and X-Ray managed to get out just alive, push into her an aggressive wall. Aprita this time is one to hit him. A great counter wall by Night God. Sets it up for the shatter, and headlots in the back line. No Baptiste means no more health for you. Team Chaser getting sent back to spawn at pretty rapid paces right now, but there are a couple stragglers left here. Shatter looks to be enough. Night God nearly down. Blizzard up for a crit. They've got everything they need to take the space. They don't need a Baptiste. Everyone here has enough sustain to get through the fight, but they don't want to fully invest this Blizzard. Both teams going for it, though. This is just getting ridiculous, Mox.
I mean, T1W, they're more than happy to just keep stalling this. They're still in control of the point, though. That tick percentage is still going up for this team, and now they can come back to reinforcements. Say, here, the Immortality field is up.
I mean, Team Chaser really don't want to invest this EMP, but the longer this goes, the more and more it looks like they might have to. The Graviton finds nothing. EMP invested by Team Chaser. I mean, it's looking like they're set up to win this fight, but at what cost?
So many ultimates used from both of these, and T1W actually do invest the amplification matrix from physics, so they won't be able to set Akire up to come in with that Deadeye and be absolutely instrumental. You will be able to zone Team Chaser, and that's exactly what T1W are going to be looking at, right? With the Lucio speed boost to get Headlock just close enough to start swinging away so that your shield isn't fractured by the time the fight starts.
And the fight's going to start pretty quick up here on the high ground. Prida's going to have very little room to actually use this Blizzard once they push out. Good flash, though. Doesn't allow much to happen. Walls for either side. Prida with an early Blizzard. Late Young's got good follow-up. Team Chaser taking this fight off the high ground, but the tanks go in. There's a bit of a miscommunication on the T1W side, and now everybody's segregated.
Well, T1W, even if they lose this fight, they do only need to win one more, though. Problem is that Taro Cookie, I mean, he's so close to that EMP. You can see him right now just trying to get that last little bit of it. You don't have to worry about the sign barrier, though. Raindrop is too far away to get that one up in time, and that should cement Team Chase to come into this fight and win it. The question is, how long can they draw it out without wanting T1W to get the time?
Oh no, an early pick for T1W. That's the May down. I mean, there's no counter wall to deny Knight got all the pressure. Yes, an EMP hits 5, but it's a pretty easy disengage for T1W. They use the same wall that they used to get in to get out, and then re-engage after the EMP is over. Fantastically played space making by the T1 tanks.
I would have loved to see that EMP being used a little bit more retroactively, right? You're the one that sets the pace, you're the one that can catch T1W as they come in on the entrance, but you're the one that actually has to use that EMP in reaction to T1 coming in. And now, 5% left on the point, Team Chaser, they'll have the Cyan Bar to try to set Late Young up to be able to come in with a Graviton, but you have to worry about all of the other ultimates that T1W can use to zone you out.
Yeah, I mean, Sound Barrier is the last thing you want to be using at the start of this fight. They need to get maximum value out of it, but it's just late. The Reinhardt's not safe. T1W caught in a Graviton, but with Jasper's Defense Matrix, a shield from Headlock, they've got all the tools they could want to get through this. And T1W come to map 1, flip the script, and say, Team Chaser, this is our series to lose.
Team Chaser not running that Tracer, though, and I'm sure that a Predator is going to be locking that one in, because the remaining 2 maps of Nepaldo are absolutely notorious for the amount of flanks that you can pull off on them. And I think being on Shrine first really did hamper Chaser's options. We know the team is strongest when they allow a Predator to get into that backline. But setting a Mei into the backline is a lot harder than letting a Tracer just blink through, and already you can see a Predator teasing that one as it looks like they're going to opt into a little bit of double shielding. The Orisa and Sigma coming out for this team. So if Headlock sticks on that Hammond, it's going to be a lot of cry control for when he tries to roll through.
Yeah, you've got to assume a Prit is going to be going onto the Tracer eventually here. What I'm curious is, what does Night God do? He's got a lot of options when you're running Wrecking Ball Sigma to break out. Let's see what the swap is from a Symmetra.
Well, it seems like it will be another Tracer. You do want to be coming in with that Hammond, acting as a sort of duo hit squad to really hit that support lineup and punish the fact that their running is then without the break. There is no shield bash to keep the support up.
And that was a bit of an issue, I mean, pretty much the entire time for Team Chaser last time these two were playing, was the lack of a Brigida. They hate playing it unless they absolutely have to. Lynx is so comfortable on the Mercy that they want to go for it. But you mentioned this map being good for them. We're beginning to see why. T1W constantly trying for an engage, but now their backline's open. Now damage is getting thrown in by Taro Cookie. Able to be traded back by a Kite, though. And with a Prita down, this is a fight that T1W can absolutely win. They've got all the space they could ever want, and that is just a dichotomy of the playstyle that Team Chaser want to play. You give the space to allow a Prita behind the team, but if a Prita goes down, you're left with nothing.
Yeah, 22% for a Predator is not numbers that we usually see in T1W. They've been against this Tracer. They know how he likes to play, and you can tell that that adaptation that we talked about, that we saw in the last round of Control when these guys met on Wednesday, is here in full right now. And already making sure that that distance is just wide enough that a Predator really is forced to take a lot of damage, sets Akire up to be able to come in and get this damage, and forces Taro Cookie to drop the Bob on point just to draw T1W out.
Not a bad use of an ultimate, though, to be completely fair. There's not much that can actually contest this with Wrecking Ball Sigma. Nothing can take that much damage. It allows Team Chaser all the space up the high ground, and that'll easily push T1W out of the point.
They wanted to have the Tracer contest rather than the entire team, and it actually meant that Team Chaser were able to just close up that distance and find themselves where they want to be. when you're running that Tracer, you need to be in close. And T1W, they know they need to keep them at arm's length. Where this team is going to struggle is when Chaser are able to get close enough. And now they're walking in. Physics does have the Transcendent, should nullify late young Sigma Flux, but not if the Sigma is out of the way.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness! He tries to use it to get away from Headlock, and the Hammer's having none of it.
I mean, it's a valiant effort, Late Young. It's not working, though. You're down a member, now you're down a full Gravitic Flux as well. They force a Transcendence out of Kyo. Physics still has it, mind you. The one biggest win for T1W here would be to take this fight without using that Transcendence. They just need to get Aprita down on point, putting pressure. Tracer v Tracer. Aprita's the first one to go, and that'll be T1W holding on to a boatload of ultimates and getting the point out of this, it looks like.
There's that position that we talked about, right? When you see Physics just hammering those ults, and you also see Akita just to the left of him, making sure that Aprita can't come in for that pulse bomb to try and stick onto the Zen, because if you try to get close, the coach comes there to push you away. Social distancing in full effect is once again T1W now in control of the point, widen out that distance and force Team Chaser to take a whole bunch of poke damage before they can even get in to have a say.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier about how much easier it is to defend a point against Team Chaser than it is to engage on a point. Now that Bob isn't as much of an option for Taro Cookie, there's less things to force the pressure to point. Team Chaser have got to figure out how to do this one with just their tanks, which historically they have struggled to do, and down goes Late Young, just as I mentioned it. Tanks try and take space, but get punished immediately by T1W.
Well, Taro Cookie is approaching that Bob, and remember, this is the thing that Team Chaser used to open up the fight last time to draw T1W away from it. But not if Kyo is going to be left completely unguarded for Night God to just one clip right through.
Team Chaser getting really greedy with this space. Star Cookie does have the bomb. They can try and take this fight like they did the last one, but I mean, the issue is you're bleeding out players one by one. Someone's got to stop this. Someone just stem it for just a moment. It's been nonstop for like 20% now.
You can't let that stagger come through, and you can actually see that T1W are doing everything in their power to control that choke right now. Normally they want to widen the distance, but now they know if Team Chaser get a leg onto the point and the fight opens out, that's when Taro Cookie's buff can have a real impact, so they're going to stop them before they can even touch.
And with that, T1W blow up everybody's preds within 20 minutes of the broadcast starting. This is not looking good for our point standings, but I will say it's looking great for T1W. I mean, you mentioned them coming in, bringing the adaptations from earlier on in the week and everything. I mean, it went to a T for them.
It looks so strong, right? We talked about how this is a team that's really smart, and by the time that the match had ended on Wednesday, you could see that they really had figured out how Team Chaser liked to play. And I told you, I was talking to you about this a little bit earlier, right? The fact that even though Team Chaser's control map is arguably their strongest type of map, with all of the angles, all of the flanks that should be there for Raprida, and all of the space that the team can provide him, all of that goes out of the way if the team knows how to come in and use that space against you. They did such a good job at making sure the tanks just could not create the space to let Aprita through.
I think that was one of the big things that we saw on Wednesday as well, though, was kind of the tank fight starkly going in favor of T1W, right? We look at a map like Kings Row, which I think was the second map that they ended up playing, and it went towards T1W, rightfully so, because Aprita was not able to get that much pressure through. And then you look at the Streets phase, it was all about the tanks, and by all means, Headlot and Jasper have outplayed X-Ray and Late Young. I don't know what else to say other than that. Aprita can only create so much pressure behind, and it leaves the rest of the team with 5 members, but those 5 members have been just on their heels the entire game.
And I mean, we talked as well, we touched on the fact that Langso likes to play the Mercy, and while that does allow Taro Cookie's Ash to get a lot more damage in, Aprita, especially on the Echo, sometimes likes to pick that one up, it does mean that Kyo, the resources going to the DPS, aren't there to sustain the other support. And you can see that T1W, they've actually changed their playstyle. Headlock's going for the support, just as Night God's going for the support. They're all looking for the Zen, knowing full well that crowd control that's there to stop their team, or rather that their team has to stop Team Chasers. It's not there for their opponent, and they can capitalize on those moments.
Yeah, so now I think we gotta ask ourselves like a pretty important question here. Team Chaser, yes, there's a ton of just veteran strength on this team. You've got a couple of young bucks, Aprita's in there looking good, but there's a question that's always been raised of can they adapt, right? All seasons felt like they've kind of been the team that wants to be the new Team CC, that wants to be that new dominant force in Chinese contenders. They're saying, hey, we're going to come out, we're going to play the Mercy, we're going to play the Tracer, we're going to play whatever the hell we want, and you have to adapt to us. But I don't think the efficacy of that has been necessarily the same for them as it was somebody like Team CC. And it's this moment where I think they're slowly but surely realizing it, that they're going to have to adapt.
Yeah, we saw it on Wednesday, right? The fact that they like to play these compositions, and very similar to their father team, Chengdu Hunters, who were known for not playing to the meta, who want to play their own game and force their opponents in turn onto that. They don't want to play Overwatch, they want to play checkers. And then when the other team tries to come out with chess, they just flip the table. But that only works for so long, and now you can see Lengths are back on that Mercy, Terror Cookie on the Ashe going to have the damage boost. It's easy to pull off the damage boosted Ashe on the defense because you're the one who immediately has sight on where the team is going to pop up. T1W now are the ones walking into Team Chaser, and this is the problem. This is the real thing that this team struggled against on Wednesday, and we have to see whether or not they've been able to fix that just as well if they've done Control.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the high ground, you mentioned how good it is for the defenders here and how it's what T1W struggle with. I want to give some credit over to Team Chaser. This is an excellent map pick for everything that they want to do. We know they like running Zarya Ball. We know they want to play as much dive as humanly possible. This is the place to do it. They've got high ground for Taro Cookie, and they've got a Prita who can lurk like a little piranha down beneath them. Already, though, T1W, they've got at least a little bit of control of the high ground.
They're trying to take that high ground. They know that a Predator is likely going to be looking for that backline, and the more players you have on the high ground, the harder it is for that Tracer to close up that gap. As Michael's actually already behind them, going into the playstyle of a Predator and taking a page out of the Tracer's book.
You know what's interesting, though? Aprita's been fairly reserved, was playing back with the team when the Tracer went for the dive, but oh no, Zenyatta's back. Good peel by Late Young, sticking with the support, but now it's Taro Cookie left all alone on point. You invest all that into the supports, but it's the DPS you got to look out for. T1W are using their heads to play this game right now, Mox. They're on a swivel, and they're finding every single available target. The second you leave someone open, they're instantly on top of them.
And now Team Chaser, with this amount of percentage left on that point, really have to just give over the fight. Otherwise, they risk not having any control of the high ground in the fight that ensures 1B starts. And you can already see they're pulling back.
Here.
They don't want to get staggered, and Hetlo exactly wants that, as Jasper's going to push alongside the Hammond, making sure all of the space is given to T1W for absolute free.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of a choice they have in this matter, to be completely fair. I mean, they kept 2 people alive, they get staggered, you get 2 more staggered. Now the whole team seems to be coming out of spawn. Team Chaser finally regroup, but that means T1W get through the choke for free as well.
Yeah, and Taro Cookie can't actually take that high ground where the Ashe wants, so you can already see the damage just coming through, and Hetlock drops the hammer mines right on the stairwell. There's no lift, no way of access to that high ground. As X-Ray's just going to try and be a little bit of a bother, slow that payload down. But in the same time, T1W, they've still got control of the high ground.
I mean, it's been pick after pick after pick. Yes, you get X-Ray up. Got to give some props to Length. That was a very, very nice res, but you still don't own the high ground. The cart's about halfway through B now. Let's see if they can get down to Prita in for a very close range pulse bomb. Rain drops down, but it's traded out. Down goes the Tracer. Down goes a majority of Team Chaser's damage. This fight is far from over. Team Chaser have got to find a pick somewhere. Late Young versus Jasper, the fight to watch. The grab bigger on one side, but there's nothing to follow it up.
T1W, they invested the Transcendence into that as well, though they saw that Team Chaser were lacking that damage, that now was their moment to strike. And in went the Graviton, in went the Transcendence, trying to make up for the fact that Raindrop had fallen, the rally, the break packs weren't there. But Team Chaser finally giving a little bit of breathing space, able to take control of that high ground, and this is where Taro Cookie is going to have real impact. T1W already changing up how they approach, not going to walk main road, instead sticking to the side rooms to make sure that the damage that the Ashe can get on them, the chance for physics to fall before the fight is ready, is mitigated.
I do really like the changes that Team Chaser have made to how they want to play this map, though. It's been much more reserved, much more about protect. Okay, Aprita. I mean, that's just Aprita doing Aprita thing. Like, it's every once in a while, like once a series or so, either your support or your DPS just gonna get one clip, and you have to just be okay with that.
I love as well, it's just a rock and a hard place. If you walk away from that podium, you walk into Taro Cookie, damage boosted by the Mercy. But if you stay in place and try and play musical statues, the Predator just mows you down in the blink of an eye. And T1W, they took so many approaches to make sure side room, all of this waiting for that cooldowns to come back to make sure no one went down early, and a Predator just put an absolute hammer in that works.
Got time, and Team Chaser have got a much better head on their shoulders. It would seem that is taking the head off of a kite. Yo, good for one now. T1W have no intentions of actually contesting this high ground right now. They're trying to go through the arcade, but it's such a long route. You're just bound to lose somebody along the way. Knight got in. Good for one, though. Kyo's down again for Team Chaser's. Constantly been the target of harassment so far, but this fight is far from over.
Yeah, T1W unfortunately not having control of that high ground, have no way of stopping Linksa from getting that res through. Bob already gonna be keeping T1W even more at bay. As now we're seeing a Predator just doing a Predator things. Does manage to get the stick, doesn't manage to get the kill. Beautiful Zarya bubble coming in to stop that one. But this fight is still going. T1W, they dropped the hammer mines. They're putting the Transcendence and the rally in. This is a fight they need to win, or it's paying dearly for this team. And finally, they'll be able to get that second checkpoint pulled in.
Yeah, Aprita actually managed to force out the Transcendence, but T1W did a really good job of changing something that just looked like an unfortunate use of an ultimate into a proper engagement, getting Headlock up onto the high ground, managed to do more with that fight than they really had any right to, and that's off the back of their really, really strong teamwork.
They managed to get that second checkpoint, but unfortunately for this team, there's a real bit of bad news, and that's if they lose a single one of these fights, that choke, which was so brutal on B, it only gets worse than C. They have to keep that payload in motion, and with Late Young so close to that Graviton and Physics having forced into that Transcendence in the last fight, it's not going to be there. Chaser, no. They've got a Transcendence, they've got Sustain, they've got Aggression, and they don't even need ultimates to keep T1W down!
Oh, T1W, they're having a bad time in all these choke points. They keep trying to push for that high ground. It was what won them so much in the first series that we saw from them earlier on this week on Wednesday, but it really doesn't seem to be the case here. Team Chaser have caught onto it. They've wizened up to that strategy.
Yeah, T1W, it looked so good, that spatial control on Wednesday, because they went for these little specific pockets. Instead, now they're trying to grab all of the space, and that spreads their resources so thin that there's nothing to stop a Prayer and Late Young and X-Ray from just moving forward and really capitalizing on the fact that this peel, the CC, it's not the same level as it was on Wednesday to try and hold them down. And now T1W are forced into, once again, side rooms trying to mitigate that damage, but Night God falls, and that means no pressure on the backline, nothing to stop Team Chaser from getting aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to point out the positioning from Kyo and Taro Cookie especially. They're out in the back line, they're taking the whole lane down the right side. So the left door is being watched constantly by Aprita and Late Young being on just Sentry. Meanwhile, the right side is being watched by Dynamite and all sorts of orbs. There's just very few ways into this fight cleanly for T1W, but they do have ultimates to make the engagement here, and Hetlod's down. They want to use as few as possible to close the space, but they're looking good for it. X-Ray now into the back line. Graviton chucked in. It's on to 3. Is there follow-up is the big question. Absolutely. Kyo taking heads off on the Zenyatta.
T1W were playing ult chicken, and Late Young is the one to blink. And Physics and Raindrop, they have the choice of using those support ultimates, but they were more than content for that Graviton to come out from the enemy's area, and now they can push in with 6 ultimates. Yet there's still an absolute gauntlet available for them. This choke is so brutal, but Hetlot with the hammer mines can put so much spatial denial and force Chaser back.
Force who back? Hetlot's down. T1W. I mean, they just got smacked with the same engage that they gave over to Team Chaser. Space made by the Bobs, similar to what we saw over on Nepal, but working a little bit better this time. They finally got that wrap that they're looking for. They're trying to play for high ground, but there's Transcendence aggressive by Team Chaser. That's all the ultimates out on the board. T1W are the ones left with gas in the tanks. Physics still has a Transcendence, and they're not even going to use it. The Graviton by Jasper looks to be more than enough.
Beautiful claps, forcing Q to pot with that Transcendence, and as soon as it's up, the second that glow fades, Jasper just chucks in the Graviton. And it's all T1W needs, and you pointed out, they're going to have that sustain. They have the Transcendence in case Team Chaser can come back in with their respawns being so close.
T1W come out of that massively ahead in ultimate. They've got all the tools. There's no way they're losing this one. I mean, what an incredible display from T1W. Yes, they keep trying to bash their heads into the high ground because it's what won them games on Wednesday. But they understand, hey, we can change our route. Let's get a little bit creative with it. Another thing that we saw on Wednesday, creative routes to high ground, and then try and take care of business. And there it paid off massively. I mean, they came out of a fight that began with Team Chaser having 6 and T1W having 5 ultimates to Team Chaser having 0 and T1W still having 3. That's crazy.
I mean, fair dues to Team Chaser though, because it looked rough on that point A, right? The dive coming through from T1W was absolutely stellar, and they lost point A so quickly, but they were able to really recover on point B. And even for a very long time, point C. They're very good at positioning themselves, at keeping their support safe today, and Kyo not going down, being able to hit those Transcendences, and Physics being the one now forced into using them a little bit too early is what Team Chaser is using to just brute force their way through, and it's working. The problem is that all of their ploys, all of their tactics are now going to be turned against them. T1W is immediately going to have access to the high ground, and it's Team Chaser who's the one trying to intrude now.
It's a pretty tall ask, right? You look at T1W, and we kind of initially framed Night God as the carry that this team is looking for. They don't have that star player in the DPS role, and Night God's a little bit wishy-washy, but has some solid performances. But I think, honestly, so far, it's been a kite The Ashe has been non-stop incredible, and from this kind of high ground, he could do some work.
And absolutely, especially if you put into the equation physics with the discords. The second that discord lands on the Predator's head, you're really forced to just duck for cover and hope you don't need the mercy damage boost. And raindrop on that break is going to make it a little bit harder as a Predator trying to find a little bit of parkour. Oh, it was Jasper on Dorado, but it's a Predator day. These guys really have been learning their maps.
Oh my god. Every single week, one of these players does some crazy parkour I've never seen in my life. It's, you know, it's just nice to see. Anyways, Team Chaser looking to push up to this point. They've got the high ground they mentioned earlier, and a kite's down. Down goes the carry, Ashe. All of the resources were being funneled into them. But now T1W turn around. They're trying to protect physics and range up, but that gets tougher and tougher when you lack damage.
Yeah, no one really was trying to protect Sakito because they didn't expect Team Chaser to get on top of them so quickly. They were keeping their own that support line of physics. This isn't Overwatch hide and seek, buddy. I'm sorry, you got caught. And now T1W already going to be losing that point A. So the payload's going to be starting to move any second now, but they're going to be able to take the high ground. This was something that wasn't available for Chaser. They fought for so long to keep control of that point. They weren't able to immediately move up the steps in time to be able to let that Ashe move in, and you can see that Chaser have actually made sure that the same thing happens.
Chaser, I think, being a little bit greedy here. They got to make sure to not get their hand caught in the cookie jar, because T1W had very clear picks coming out of point A. Team Chaser are just trying to take space very aggressively, but I think they have to forfeit eventually. Yeah, T1W managed to get to hold on to the high ground. In trade, though.
You could have said Taro Cookie. You could have said the Taro Cookie jar, but it went straight over. And now T1W going to be trying to make sure that Team Chaser don't just roll straight over. Headlock all the way in the back, just being an absolute pain right now, trying to put a little bit of split focus so that Chaser are forced to turn their attention away from that frontline fight. And that's when T1W, the trader on this Tracer, is going to be a lot less dangerous, right? When the Tracer is trying to keep a hold of that Hammond, make sure that the supports are still alive. The Taro Cookie has that space to work with, and you're not going to be bothering physics to try and bully that Transcendence out.
Mind you, Cart is still pushing here, right? For all the high ground that T1W have, it continues to move forward. With Headlock down, there's not much that can actually contest this. T1W have two options, right? Engage this with 5 or try and wait for that Wrecking Ball to get back, and neither are good options. They choose the former, a Prida down, and that's now a tied scoreline player-wise for the teams. No one really wants to take a clean engage here.
T1W have an instant win condition as well. Because the second that Jasper hits that Graviton, you know that Headlock's mines are going to be coming out right over top. X-Ray's got the mine, sure, but you don't really have anything to try and kite T1W together so that they're as impactful. Now it is just going to be Kyo who can try and put a stop to the Vantex.
Oh, that's a lot of ultimates, and oh my god, Kyo is going to get so much healing. That is just an obscene amount. A kite, though? Gives Prida a little bit of his own medicine there on the way back, and while Team Chaser did manage to survive all those ultimates, so did T1W, and they managed to get a Prida for it. Now the res is out, Graviton's in, it's late young, they've gotten their sights. Oh. Poor guy had no shot.
Well, they do manage to contest that cut just a little bit longer. Team Chaser were trying to keep it rolling, but T1W not going to allow the ladder number to happen on their watch. And we talked about Jasper being really impressive on this area. The fact that you wait, that you bully Kyo into using that Transcendence to clear the mines, and the second you see that opening, that Team Chaser are starting to pull back together, you pop the Graviton in, and that's all the win condition that T1W needs to keep control of this high ground. Team Chaser trying to find a new approach, still have to deal with the same problems. The Transcendence is there, Night God on this pulse is going to be the absolute bane of the existence, sheer paranoia. As Lengsa and Q, if either of these guys get hit by it, that is just going to be fight over immediately.
I mean, there's 3 targets, right? Taro Cookies also included in that. There's so many options for Night God to dive, and there's so few ways to defend it. You've got one projected barrier from the Zarya, and she's on low ground trying to contest. She doesn't have access to her supports to save them at any given point in time, so Team Chaser really riding a fine line here. The Pulse Bomb's out, and it's Night God who's the one that goes down. Team Chaser's patience is rewarded again here. Now it's the Prida's turn. He's got the Pulse Bomb. He's in the back line. Great shield bash saves him for the time being, but not forever. It's the Prida, baby. You got to keep an eye out. Forces the Transcendence. T1W looking for a counter engage, but again, more patience by T1W. Pull back, and now they can make the real engagement.
Remember though, Physics did just use that Transcendence, and Late Young is about to hit the Graviton. Team Chaser Langs are going to be popping the Valkyrie to keep this fight going, though. They want the Graviton to come out in this fight. They know T1W will not have the sustain to see it through.
Well, they do have close response. That's a big thing to keep in mind here. The mines are going to give you even more of that sustain, and it's slowly building now for T1W. Team Chaser, yes, they're being patient, but there's never really an opportunity for them.
Oh, and they've all been pushed back into the side room. As Akita just gets to absolutely free farm these sightlines, gets a little bit of damage in return, but that's immediately going to be healed up by the team. Jasper so close to that Graviton themselves. Raindrop gonna be sticking with the break, but Physics has actually made a swap over to the BAP, so you don't need to worry about the Transcendence. You'll have Immortality healed.
Well, we talked about the Transcendence being forced in the last fight, and that's the punishment for it. Physics now having to swap to Baptiste, but I mean, there's no way you're living through Mines and Graviton with that. Team Chaser, they played the long con, they got the ultimates, but they also got a lot of time shaved off their bank.
And now that the Graviton has been seen through, Physics will go back onto that Zenyatta. So they really did just want the Immortality field to try and keep themselves alive through that ult. But Team Chaser, they've got snowball potential. Aprilia has got another Pulse Bomb, and Physics just now swapping back onto the Zen means no Transcendence. If it sticks to the Zen, it's either going to be a Zarya bubble that saves them, or pure death.
That's if anybody can save anybody. Jasper is down in front of his entire team as well, which is just unfortunate. T1W, I mean, it's rightful to not want to invest resources when the cart hasn't really pushed that far, but Team Chaser just keep biting at the bit. They want more and more and more, and eventually there it is. X-Ray gets caught out for overextension. Yeah, it's traded for Physics, but the spawn's much closer for the defenders here.
And Physics goes down as well. T1W playing just a little bit more defensively, hoping that Physics would be able to use that distance to keep themselves safe, but also build up that ultimate that Kyo has already colored in. But unfortunately, that means that Team Chaser are getting so much space that T1W are forced to just invest one player at a time to try and put up a little bit of threat. And that just means that that payload is running closer and closer with more ultimates in for Team Chaser.
It's a payload we got to really keep an eye on. Pulse Bomb actually zones really well. Kind of smart from Aprilia, though. It doesn't actually catch anybody. It does keep them at an arm's length. And now with Transcendence out for Kyo, Team Chaser are running out of options. It's all down to the Graviton. Late Young chucks it in and catches out a kite for it, but there's no more follow-up damage. Kyo's cornered, and Jasper and Hetlot have turned this into a blender, Moxie.
Hetlot goes for the body block too, and you have to feel bad. No, it's maybe in the corner apart from Hammond, apparently. As Team Chaser final fight territory are forced back yet again.
Oh, what a dive.
Oh no,
that's gorgeous.
It's not gorgeous, it's absolutely brutal. It's filthy. Hetlot rolling back. It's pretty much guaranteed that the approach from Team Chaser is now forcing Lengths to go onto the Brigitte. That crowd control has got to be there because they know if it's not, Hetlot's just going to pull off the same thing. Already look at him in the rafters, just ready and waiting to pile drive someone into the F, and NightGod to get a pulse.
Yeah, and NightGod's actually really close to that. There it is. Pulse Bomb up. They've got the tools. They don't have a Graviton to make it stick quite yet, but if they get it onto the Ash, I mean, who's even asking question? NightGod has been so consistent with these. Now it's up to Hetlot to try and deny the potential resurrect, but the Brigitte now swapping. There's not even a chance of that. Team Chaser with the counter engage, though, do look good. Jasper down at just 60% to the Graviton. They're losing percentage on some vital ultimates as well.
And Predator does have the Pulse Bomb too. It doesn't even need to use it to take Hetlot out of the way, but the thing that T1W has over Team Chaser right now is supports a live door and a Transcendence to boot when they come out of the spawn. Overtime has started, but Team Chaser, they don't have the sustain to see it through.
There's not space, there's not ultimate, there's not enough in the world. I'm sorry, Team Chaser. It's time to get out of the way. We've got match point for T1W, and it seems like they're living up to their name.
Well, we said it could be a long series. I don't think anyone going from the caster predictions was expecting the score lineup that we are currently seeing, but we talked about how smart T1W are. We talked about how they know their strengths, how they figured out how Team Chaser likes to play, the spacing, the patience, all of it. You can tell they've gone back, they've watched the VODs, they figured it all out, and they know just how to tear it apart.
Yeah, I mean, this is just 200 IQ play after 200 IQ play. They have been all over. The dive's been incredible. Hetlot's really turned it up. Yeah, I think the Wrecking Balls are both dying a lot on both sides, but that's because they're the only ones really making stabs forward at one another team. Both of them are very apprehensive to move forward because it's the attempt at an adaptation from Team Chaser. They were usually very aggressive, trying to give space over to Aprilia to try and get value out of that Tracer, but that wasn't working, so now they're pulling back. But that passiveness is exactly how T1W are really comfortable playing, when they can maintain their space and just let the tanks and supports farm.
And it's not just the tanks either, because it feels like T1W, while not only having figured out how Team Chaser like to play, they've figured out how to mold that sort of playstyle, the setup for the Tracer, into their own playstyle, right? We're seeing the setup from Hetlot to let NightGod not only stay alive, but also go for those power drives and just farm Pulse Bomb after Pulse Bomb, setup after setup. And it's really coming out absolute top fronts for this team.
Everything looks good for T1W. They want to flip the script. They want to turn this one into one of the biggest upsets we've had all season. It's match point, ladies and gentlemen. We come back with the final half of this game in just a couple seconds. I love Overwatch more and more every day I get to cast it. We see things like this. This is really exciting. We get to the nitty gritty. We're talking about teams adapting. We're talking about really high level coaching staff. T1W is just the epitome of that so far. And the rewards are pretty clearly they've been reaped. I mean, they're up 2-0 against Team Chaser, who I think everybody coming into the season was like, yeah, this is the team to beat. T1W, I mean, they signed a new roster. They got a bunch of new players going for them. But the puzzle pieces, they're fitting together, Moxie. They're fitting together well.
And it's going to be looking like T1W might be able to walk away with a free Ando as well, because despite loser picking map, Chaser have opted to take us to Dorado.
That's
and
crazy.
These guys have actually played Dorado previously on Wednesday, but T1W walked away with it. They
Yeah, and
full held.
it was not pretty.
Full held Team Chaser. And Team Chaser, it's a statement and a half when you're losing 2-0 to take yourself to a map where you got full held on. They've got a plan. But we know that T1W, the playstyle that they opt into to counteracting how Team Chaser like to play, which is all around that high ground, well, there's no better high ground to have access to than Dorado.
Yeah, this map, I mean, for full clarity, was just, I think the only way to describe it was not pretty for Team Chaser. T1W felt like we're ahead in every single way. This was the map when it felt like they really came into their own with that high ground strategy that you mentioned. But it looks like they also want to change the game a little bit. Taking a look at what they've got locked in, I mean, I see Arissa, it's probably not, they're probably getting debated. Let's be real with ourselves. But, I mean, there's always a chance.
I mean, my eyes didn't deceive me. I believe I saw an Anna. And oh, you know me, support main, I love to see the Anna coming into play door, and she's really good at being able to enable everybody else, especially when it comes to nano boost, right? You can nano boost a Winston, you can nano boost a Tracer, and Preda has been a little bit quieter today just because T1W know how he likes to play. They've made sure that all of that space is not there for him to run around in. The thing is, it's a lot harder to try and shut a Tracer out when there's a Winston jumping alongside them as well.
Yeah, I think kind of the big question is like, we're watching the Kyo versus Physics fight, and I honestly think about 80-90% of the time, Physics has been getting the better of Kyo, so making the swap, I think, looks to change the status quo of that in its entirety. But Team Chaser want nothing, or pardon me, T1W want nothing to change here. They want everything to continue going to plan, slowly push this cart, play their space, and not anything more. And as long as Team Chaser keep giving them space the way they have, they'll be all right.
I mean, my worry, though, is that, yes, you've got the break to keep Physics safe, but it's not just going to be a Prida going for the Zen, it's going to be the Winston as well. And Physics under the double onslaught will fall. No res available, but Team Chaser, they're not going to have a Prida back as quickly as T1W, who do have the faster respawns.
And that's absolutely the thing to watch. Remember, Team Chaser, their win condition is a Prida. They invest into a Prida a lot of their resources to get them back that space that they give away. But instead, you don't have that. You don't have your spearhead. All you've got is just a wooden stick, and no one's beaten until a Prida comes back, and he's looking mighty sharp. Now the backline's available. A lot of damage being put in, and oh my god, X-Ray, the value this man is getting through one bubble is just obscene. Team Chaser find a perfect position to collapse on.
And when X-Ray is doing well, Kyo is doing well. Because that Winston just takes so much damage that that nano boost gets absolutely supercharged. They're both going to have those ultimates available at the same time. And T1W have to walk into the jaws of death yet again because Team Chaser, this Winston can get so much done on the high ground. He's so hard to uproot and so effective at diving with a Prida.
It's been good, but again, a Prida's down, and that's not a spawn that's going to come back for a hot minute. T1W are up first. Kyo still in the high ground. Needs to be careful about not getting dove, actually. This is a pretty dangerous position for the team to be in. Not waiting for a Prida. I think their game plan is to hold the high ground and then collapse when a Prida comes back from spawn, is what it looks like, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Team Chaser now in. A Prida's in as well. Nightguy with the pulse bomb, though, connects onto Kyo, and that shuts the healing right on down. X-Ray is the only thing stopping T1W from completely obliterating his team, but he's done an excellent job of that.
I mean, beautiful play from Nightguard, sensing that the Winston, the bouncer for that Ana is out of the picture so you can go in with the pulse bomb. But unfortunately, that Primal, it was just enough to keep T1W at bay for Prida to come back in. And this is why the guy is feared. The pulse bomb, the double clips afterwards. He's still looking for more as he doesn't care about Break being a Tracer counter. A Prida is an everything counter right now.
I love the creative ways Team Chaser are able to employ their space to allow a Prida to get back in. There, they rotated around the backside of the team to let a Prida's route from spawn to be the better route towards the team. Like, it's that kind of play that we're looking for from Team Chaser right now.
Well, Hetlot is definitely going to be looking for these mines to have a big impact in the fight. Lengths are not going to be able to use the rally in the way that you see Zens to use Transcends to clear those. So if T1W are able to keep themselves onto that payload, they should be able to shut Team Chaser down at least for a little while.
Well, I mean, there is a word of warning here. It has been approximately 0 days since the last C9 in Chinese Contenders, and that card is getting dangerous and close. We gotta make sure that we can at least put the day up to 1. Like, that's all I'm asking for. I don't think we've even had the number 1 on there. I think it's been 0 the entire week, but just please, for my sanity.
Well, T1W do have a whole host of ultimates. Jasper with that Graviton. Remember, Hetlot had such a good hammer mine over the Grav, and that was when Lengsa and Kyo were able to use those ultimates to try and keep it in check. But now you don't have to bully a Transcendence out. You can go in knowing that Graviton is going to be effective.
That Graviton, let's see just how effective it is. Mine's down on top. Hetlot good for 2, but they are traded back here by Team Chaser, and they've still got a Prida up and online. Both the supports and Jasper. You know what? Throw one more on top of it. Why the hell not?
Well, Team Chaser, they were the ones that got full held by T1W 2 days ago, but well, it's looking like a completely different story right now. Final fight coming in for T1W, and Jasper's forced onto the D.Va just to use those boosters to try and get onto this point a little bit faster. Raindrop not wanting to go into the Lucio, you have to price that crowd control when Team Chaser is running as effective a dive.
There's a touch from Night God. Pressure is on. T1W would love to at least get this first point right now, but it's not a very good fight for them. Point pressure's on. They don't have a clear way to get on top of Keo. The healing is practically free for Team Chaser. Now Primal Rage being spent. Jasper and the tank's health bar is dropping lower as they have to try desperately to touch this card, but there's just nothing there from Team Chaser with, I think, the biggest improvement we've seen all day here on Dorado.
Yeah, beautiful play from all of them, but really, Late Young, that Graviton was absolutely gorgeous. Jasper not only switches to the D.Va to try and boost onto that point and provide a little bit of more speed, more contest presence, but also for the defense matrix. Because they know that's the only way they're going to be able to combat that Graviton. And Late Young actually adapts, sees the D.Va and decides you're not going to throw the Graviton far, you're going to huck it right into the pavement and catch just one person. But that one person is just enough for Team Chaser to get that advantage, and then claps in on the slowly eking in members of T1W, who now have to be able to pull off the exact same thing that they managed on Wednesday. That full hold has got to come into effect.
It's looking like a taller and taller task. I will say, playing Kyo on the attacking side with an Ana is likely going to be significantly more difficult for Team Chaser. I would not be surprised if that swapped, but I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
Langster is going to be coming in on the Brigitte this time if they decide to stick with it, so there will be a little bit more peel for the Ana. And honestly, you're just looking for one fight if you're Team Chaser, right? And Ana is so good. When dive was first a thing, Winston's would just take face damage, and they would wait until the Ana just charged up that damage, turned it into nano, and that was when the fight would begin. And Team Chaser have all of the time in the world to be able to wait for those ultimates to come online. And Aprita even teasing the Widowmaker, that's not going to be staying. It's just the couple of seconds when those spawn doors open, try and find a pick and force T1W back a little bit.
That's way too close. Anyways, you brought up a good point though, with trying to get the nano boost online as quickly as possible, because remember, that cart doesn't have very long to go. There's not space that T1W can just give up to disengage from a nanoed monkey. So Team Chaser clearly have a very good game plan going into this. It's just about getting that cart set up in position to actually have that be the final killing blow. But the Tracers dueling it out on the cart right now are really going to decide what matters here, because Team Chaser don't want to take an engage until that's over, but with Lei Young down, they don't really have much of an option.
I mean, they've got so much time as well to actually get into position. You can see they want to be on the high ground. They need Keo to actually be behind the team, but on the high ground, so that Nightgod does not have easy access to the Ana. And while that does mean that the Ana is a lot better at surviving, it also takes a whole chunk of time out of your bank. And we talk about Team Chase having all the time in the world, but 3 minutes go by extremely quickly.
I've honestly got to hand it over to the defense right now. Night God has been basically holding this cart solo with some input from Hetla and Jasper every once in a while, but he has stopped it from moving practically anywhere. They just rounded the first corner, and they've had all the time in the world to really get there. Now the Pulse Bomb looks to make things even better here for T1W, who continue to utilize this high ground. They want more. They need to build up an advantage if they want to make this full hold work.
You can see as well, Nightgod just trying to get that next Pulse Bomb online. He's been so good at just using those blinks. Feels like there's infinite, but does not be able to escape that flail from Langster. And this is when Team Chaser is going to get dangerously close now that the Tracer is not there. T1W have to throw themselves onto the payload instead of sending Nightgod to keep standing.
It's not looking good either. Team Chaser in. They've got everything. Trance is forced out of physics, but I mean, that is about the least pretty thing we've seen in a long time. It is absolutely been forced out of him. Like, no option but to use it, and it was the only thing that healed was him. It's a disengage for T1W. They're trying to find a way back in, but a resurrect onto a sport. I'm sorry, it's not going to do it. Night God's down. A kite's nowhere to be seen, and there's no touch for the cart. Team Chaser, they're still alive though, still bleeding.
I told you we could be in for the long haul, and seeing Team Chaser just absolutely walk Dorado that round, it was perfect. Every single thing fell perfectly into place for them. From the very opening shot of Aprita's Widow, just forcing Nightgod off the high ground so the Tracer can't use that distance to try and collapse in, land on the Ana's head, all the way up to being able to push T1W further and further back away from the high ground to the point where Night God is the only one that can try and contest that cut and keep it in position. And the second that he's gone, that's when Team Chaser really push forward aggressively. They know that they've got the win condition and they're going to yank it right out of T1W's laps.
And honestly, looking into future maps, like this Ana was so effective. And the way they played it as well, it was very different to what we saw on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the way they played this map was they allowed T1W to push up the cart and then tried to back up around that first choke to play underneath the bridge and on the backside. But instead of doing that, this time they starkly held the high ground and instead rotated a Prita around in front of the bridge. And that was the big change. If that seems to be what clicked for them overall, that's a really big thing to mention, though, because that doesn't just affect this map. That affects control, that affects hybrid, that affects assault, that affects everywhere where you've got a point that you need to contest, that you need to get around, that they can use as a pivot point for that move.
I mean, Q has really impressed me so far. Not only able to just keep that healing up, but also the fact that you can survive. And yeah, positioning is absolutely massive, but the appeal is that all of those resources that we talked about on Wednesday that we saw just being pumped into a Predator and now actually being evened out a little bit more around the team, and that means your bases are more covered. Your supports can stay alive longer, keep the tanks up, and it allows the Predator to take that space. But when T1W are distracted trying to find kills rather than just trying to find space.
And you know what? Right, individually, there's been a bit of a difference. Yeah, the peel is good from individual players, but I feel like today, this match in particular, has been a battle of coaching, right? You're coming off of Wednesday with a 3-2 game. Players, mechanically can only improve so much over the course of 2 days, whereas the coaches, they can re-strategize, they can change the structure of how a team's going to play a map, they can change the course of a series, and I think that's what we're witnessing today.
Well, Team Chaser deciding that the Ana wins worked out so well from them under Rado will be sticking with it on Volskaya defense. A little bit harder for the Winston to still have that line of sight onto the Ana when you're defending, though. You will be jumping into the backline and you have to still have that jump, that Zarya bubble from Leighton to allow you to escape smoothly. If you want to keep your life intact, and X-Ray already falling dangerously low, has to use the Winston bubble.
Oh, not a very pretty position either. You're forcing the Mercy and the Ana to pull a little bit, or pardon me, the Ana specifically to pull a little bit more out of position than she'd like to be just to get you heals, but they come out alive, and nevertheless, they get into the auto room with not too many problems. Headlock being run down by Prita, gets the full pack. I think Prita actually yoinked that from him, and it leads to Team Chaser finding a win.
Yeah, but you can see the cracks are there. The fact that Q is having to come down rather than stay on that high ground, that T1W are forcing the Ana out of position. And if they can collapse onto that Ana, that's when Team Chaser running this Winston, that sustain is not going to be there. That only applies, though, if Primal is not on the table. So T1W, if they want that Ana out of the picture, they've got to do it fast.
They really, really want this left room. I mean, we're looking at something like we saw at the end of Blizzard World, and they constantly push for the same high ground over and over again. I'm a little worried T1W are going to get stuck in their ways, but they're not pushing quite yet. Waiting for the right opportunity. Now it's time to go through. No missed dive from X-Ray this time to make things go awry. Force back, actually. T1W have got to recognize this, and they absolutely do. Quickly moving over to the high ground. They recognize there's no real dive potential until they decide there is, and that's headline to the backline. Physics down. It's a win for Team Chaser so far. Now X-Ray gets to push in. He can farm up Primal. Gets a rally out of it as well. This is everything that Team Chaser want, though they have lost a couple players in the back.
When Raindrop's forced to use that rally, knows if they lose this fight, Physics is not going to be able to simply walk back to the team for free, so they have to win it now. But Team Chaser, they've got the full team, they've got the Graviton, the Primal to capitalize right off the back of it.
And I think it was pretty clear that off the bat, yeah, T1W had an interesting dive headlock going into the backline, but it was mistimed, right? They were going for the backline while T1W was trying to control the high ground, and that little bit of desynchronization opened up the door for Team Chaser.
Well, we also know that that win condition is going to be back. They love to layer up the Hammer Mines over Jasper's Graviton, especially when Team Chaser don't have that Transcendence. We know how powerful it can be, and you can actually see that Chaser, they're splitting themselves off, so if one person gets caught in the grab, it is only one, it won't be the full team.
Right now it's the full team that's in danger. X-Ray in. Again, Team Chaser very patient with high ground, waiting for the mistake to be made by T1W. Headlock is in, trying to force something to happen, and they've managed to split off Late Young. They've got to target down this area while they can. Team Chaser desperately trying to regroup with their offtank, and they've managed to do so. Lexa somehow bashes through mines to go be the savior that they needed, and in the middle of the fight, of course we get a pause.
I think Late Young is breathing a big sigh of relief, though. That Zarya felt dangerously low. and a whole lot of the Team Peel was able to just bail them out. Beautiful play coming out from Team Chaser to keep the Zarya alive, because you know the second that Zarya falls, there is nothing to stop the tidal wave that will be T1W from just getting onto that point and moving forward aggressively. No Peel, no Zarya bubble, and no massive stick of DPS that is there just buzzing into your side.
I mean, this fight's about to get. I hesitate to say stupid. It was smart play, but it's gonna get brawly. Things are gonna get a little bit messy, to say the least, because you've moved your Brig over now to try and protect your Zarya. You've got players all over the place. I think there's a support in the Mega Room, if memory serves me correct. I don't know. I've got the memory of a goldfish, man. Lasts for about 3 seconds. Anyway, it's T1W back in it. They found a good position. They regrouped, and the fact that the Zarya was split off is meaning that Team Chaser have got to find another way to get a re-engage in, and that's a Preda in the back line right now. Regroup with the team. Slow push right T1W with the Transcendence now. This is their ticket in.
X-Ray trying to charge up that Primal. Light Young so close to that Graviton, but T1W, they've been able to widen this fight out. And Keita actually on that McCree is actually putting a massive stop to Akita's antics.
You can stop Akita, but you can't stop a Preda. A Preda just keeps going. Night God does manage to get him eventually, but this fight's going really long. T1W are running out of time, and that's the big thing we have to keep a mention on. Yeah, I mean, you finally got this, but 24 seconds on the clock, it's bittersweet.
The swap as well to McCree so late means that you're not going to have an ultimate charged up to try and snowball your way onto point B. While you do have Hammer Mines, which should clear a whole chunk of space on the site, you have to really wait for Team Chaser to make the move to come to you. That's when Night God's Pulse is going to actually have the most potential to find anything. But in walking into Team Chaser, you're also walking into that grab.
I mean, Headlot's had some pretty solid uses of mines so far, and with the players grouped up on high ground, you could tell, yep, he's eyeballing up, looking to knock somebody off, or use the mines to lock them in. Spies Taro Cookie, but not really too much of an option as the team's not in a position to fully make the dive happen yet. You have to be careful here, because this is where Headlot's been overextending a lot of time. And oh no, I'm getting a little worried. Graviton used by Team Chaser. They're the one taking the fight into their hands while Headlot's nowhere to be seen. It's Jasper down, followed by Crew. No tanks here for T1W. That's to be the fight over.
So Headlot has a choice. Can either use those Hammer Mines to free up space, or use them to try and stop that Graviton from having the win condition that Chaser are looking for. Chooses the former, and unfortunately does not find the vibe that they were looking for. The damage had already been done, and now Headlot's out of those Hammer Mines as Jasper's about to hit that Graviton. You will have the Deadeye if you want to layer on top of it, but Team Chaser have so much stall potential. Even if that Graviton comes out and catches a couple of them, the Bob's going to be there, the Primal's going to be there, the Rally's going to be there, and worse for T1W, the closest Thorns are going to be there.
There's one thing I want to keep an eye on, though, right? Team Chaser has been notoriously inefficient with their ultimates this series, and I feel like that's actually an understatement. We all saw what happened on the last point of Blizzard World. It was not the best look for them, and T1W have the critical ultimate up. They have a Transcendence, and we know Physics has the timing. If they pop all 3 of these ultimates at once, the Transcendence denies all of them, but no, Physics is down, and that's the key to engage, just using the Primal as well. Team Chaser looking, honestly, much more in check with their Q buttons today.
T1W going a little bit over-aggressive there. They think that they've got X-Ray's number to try and track the Winston down, but Kyo just nanos them up, and you don't lock yourself into the room with the Winston, he locks himself into the room with you. T1W learns that the hard way, and now we are seeing about to hit those mines does mean that they will have 6 ultimates, but the distance that they have to cover to actually get in to use them, Team Chaser are using it so well against them. Even Headlot trying to come in for this high ground takes a lot of damage from Taro Cookie, and now is looking for that boot back, but Chaser have got to be expecting it. This is the same play Headlot tried before.
High ground up. It's the same play from Headlot. It's the same dive from Team Chaser to counter it. The second Headlot's in, Headlot's not going to get a pick on his own 9 times out of 10 here. You need some degree of follow-up, but T1W haven't managed to get in position. They do counter the grab, though, with Night God's Pulse Bomb connecting. This is far from over. T1W still have the Transcendence. They've still got mines to stagger this point out. Team Chaser only coming in with grab and Pulse Bomb. Late Young and Aprita have got to nail this.
Well, Link is going to actually use that Graviton, but allows Physics to just get that Transcendence through. Aprita was not there to bully the Zen out. Is there to put those pistols to good use, though, already trying to be just that little bit of a bother in the backline, and it's enough for T1W to turn their attention back and allows Team Chaser back onto this point.
I mean, that got so dicey, but it's only 1 tick with 7 seconds left. You're talking about Volsky, right? This is a map that most teams are going to be full capping at least on their first attempt, but T1W shut down at the door. Night Guy can only get a touch, and this is a fruitless effort, it feels. It'd be a miracle if they pulled something off here, but no shot. I mean, you're coming in with 3 players. Team Chaser, hats off. Every single map has been an improvement for him, and though it was a rocky start, they're certainly putting up a hell of a fight.
Absolutely gorgeous team play coming in. Really, you can see the moment that this team changed is when they brought in that Winston and the Ana. It's working so well for them because T1W, they're forced. They either turn to deal with a Predator's Tracer, which allows that Winston to get in and farm so much up for Kyo's Ana, or you deal with the Winston and the Predator's the one coming up in the kill feed. It's that catch-22. You're stuck right between a rock and a hard place. And T1W, we see the Sombra in the final moments of the map, but it's the final moments of the map that it comes out. They try the McCree, they try the Sombra, but not really in time.
Yeah, I mean, an afterthought might as well not be one. And for Team Chaser, they've got every way to win this. T1W, can come out with some pretty crazy stuff. Remember, this is their map pick. They decided, this is the place where we make our stand. I'm curious whether or not they've got anything up their sleeve, but they've only got this one composition. They've only been offered up this much. X-Ray, on the other hand, I think it's given us a little bit more, right? Kyo shifted from the Zenyatta over to the Ana. X-Ray's been running the Monkey and the Ball. There's just a little bit more flexibility here for Team Chaser, and I think that's what's doing it for him, because X-Ray's Winston has been, honestly, really, really solid.
It's really impressive, but something that surprised me as well is that T1W, Jasper's normally the most flexible on this team, right? Especially on Volskaya on the defense. We see him on Wednesday, he went through. Instead of the Zarya, it was the D.Va, so he could contest both the high ground and the low ground. It's a little bit harder for Hetlot to line those ball swings up. A little bit awkward with the way that the point is positioned, all of that walls that you can bang and clunk into for the D.Va to get in and out of those touches. But in sticking with the Zarya, you do enable Hetlot's ball to go a little bit more aggressively, but you don't have that spatial control that T1W really thrives off of.
Well, let's take a look at what they got, Mox. There's only 1 point they've got to really, really lock this one down. They're going to have a bit of space, but X-Ray's down, losing the sight lines of Kyo as well. The reload really messing with them there. T1W want to push for more here, you can tell, but I don't think there's anything there for him. Oh, no, Hetlot, be careful, bud.
Charge. Hetlot just can't get in. There's so much CC keeping this Hammond in check that he can't move through the choke, and so all the while, Q is just slowly, quietly farming up to that nano, which is going to be that opening button for X-Ray to move in and be a real threat.
Prita can't find a way into the backline either, though. It goes both ways. As much as Hetlot wants to push for more value but can't get it, neither can Prita. Prita is trying to wrap around, trying for some sort of high ground, but with all the verticality that's being utilized by T1W, with Jasper holding on top of the high ground as well, there's not really many clear ways in until Taro Cookie opens the door. Jasper down, the peel for the sports now significantly weak, and Hetlot the only one here, but that's both the tanks down. Team Chaser have not only got their foot in the door, they have just jammed it open, Box.
There is something so satisfying and yet so innately terrifying about a nano-boosted Zarya. Just the buzz, and for T1W, unfortunately, it all fell apart when Jasper fell down. They're trying to cling onto this high ground. X-Ray is actually going to be pushed away. So if T1W want to contest this, they do have the numbers to try to make a play for the point and build those ultimates up so that they do have them to stop a snowball from occurring.
This is looking less and less like a joke right now. I'm not going to lie. This recontest is real. Oh, boy, it's very real physics. Transcendence in. Late Young has to commit the Graviton. Transcendence will run out. The dive is good, but so's Hetlot to the backline. Taro Cookie's down. Kyo's down. A lot of the sustain now missing for Team Chaser. T1W, mind you, running the faster composition with Hetlot. It's a lot harder to remove this Wrecking Ball than it is the Winston, but Jasper goes down just before getting the Graviton Surge. Who in the hell is winning this fight? I don't have a clue, but Akita's still alive, and that's the only damage dealer left on the field.
And Akita also has a bob as well, so X-Ray is just forced to lick his wounds and try and retreat to a health pack, but Hetlot anticipates and takes the Winston out. And we talked about physics being so strong for T1W, that Transcendence allowing them back onto that point to try and fight it out, really let them come back in, but now you've exhausted the Transcendence, there's nothing to stop Team Chaser's DPS from going absolute nuts.
I mean, some counter-aggression, some proactivity would be nice to see here from T1W, but we're not getting it. The Bob on point looks to be enough. Does take down Akita's Bob. Hetlot down next. Graviton eaten by Late Young. That's a big one for Team Chaser. That was the tool that T1W were looking to use to win this fight, but doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. Night God can't follow up with the Pulse Bomb, and Team Chaser, off the back of a really, really nice eat, are going to send themselves on over to point B, just one tick away from victory.
That grab wasn't what the T1W were looking for to get point A. It was what if they didn't use it in point A, they needed to keep themselves on point B. Team Chaser coming in with all of the ultimates. That nano boost is going to be that allowing X-Ray to get in, something that Hetlot, remember, struggled to do on that Hammond. And they're just trying to get into position with that pulse bomb, waiting for T1W to be forced into taking on the Winston, and that's when he's going to strike.
Night God's got to be big here. Keep an eye on the Pulse Bomb in the background. It's thrown out, finds nothing. Nobody's home for Night God. Still takes out Taro Cookie though, and that's kind of the penultimate pick for this team. That's the one player they really, really needed to catch out. It's been opening up so many fights for Team Chaser. While Aprita can't get into the backline, it was Taro Cookie finding the tanks that were peeling so well for the sports. Jasper is down now, but remember, it's all up to Aprita to deal the damage here, and I'm not sure that a single person could ever do that much.
My god, just trying to keep that point contested. Headlock making sure that Team Chaser are once again held at bay as Kyo tries to go for the corner play, but gets what is this? A duel between the Chasers. But the team, they're not gonna just let it be a 1v1. There's no honor among players here right now, though, as they will intrude. And Team Chaser, they had all of the ultimates to play with, weren't able to unlock that point. And you talk about how T1W were able to just keep Team Chaser at bay. A lot of that comes down to Jasper, right? The fact that Aprita wasn't having free reign, needed to go into the backline with the pulse bomb, but couldn't with the threat of that E up and alive. And now Team Chaser, they have to eco push. They have to wait for the nano and the pulse bomb to be online yet again, and that's going to take a couple of fights.
It's also a dangerous game against a player like a Kite who can really find a pick at any given point in time. You see the rotate around by T1W. They're recognizing that Team Chaser want to play passive and taking more open angles to try and take advantage of that. Now it's time, though. Looking for the engage. The nano boost is up for Kyo. That's the go button. Is it successful? X-Ray down to 100 HP. It is looking like a Stark no. That Winston melted Moxie.
And T1W remains strong yet again as Night God just trying to finish off those kills. Pulled up another pulse bomb to keep Team Chaser in check. We'll get slapped, but is still able to stay alive thanks to some wonderful shots from Akito. Everyone focused on that Tracer, no one safe from the Ashe. And now Team Chaser waiting yet again as they used ultimates yet again. They thought that was their fight. And though time is running out, it's going to take a very long time for Young to hit that Graviton, and Physics all the while can just hold on to that Transcendence.
Our predictions and Team Chaser are all sweating right now. But Physics has a perfect Transcendence. I mean, there's not much you need to use it for. Young in 2 fights might get a Graviton up, but knowing Physics, the lock is going to be absolutely perfect. The timing is going to be there. It's about stopping the dive, though, for Chaser. Punishing the overextension, and there it is. Headlock down. Again, this tank trying to poke and prod into the backline of Team Chaser. But there's not much to be had there. Dive in from X-Ray, not going for the high ground. Learned his lesson last time. Attempt at a dropped bomb from Jasper, I think? Either that or the mech was forced out. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it results in a remech. And now Night got into the backline. The pulse bomb looks beautiful. I don't think it's good enough, though. Taro Cookie's Bob on point alongside X-Ray are doing so much work now in Chaser. There's nothing in their way. Once this Transcendence is out, that is it. There's nothing left in the tank for T1W. They've got to win it here. They've taken out Lang, so they need to get at least 2 more to feel better about this. They're trading Briggs now. Chaser slowly running out of room to fall back into. It's all up to Aprita. Gets one onto Physics, but the trades aren't good enough. The spawns are going to be enough. T1W look good enough to hold here.
Oh, they're able to get Young out of the way. The Graviton was there for the Zarya. Team Chaser, they'll have one more shot. And remember, Physics had to part with the Transcendence in that fight. Young was so adamant in sticking around farming the ultimate off the D.Va mech. And Jasper going to have to swap to the Roadhog back to the D.Va to get the mech back. Team Chaser, they've got the win condition. The T1W, if they're able to get 1 pick before the fight breaks out, they're going to have such a huge advantage. And Chaser know this. They have to be so careful about how they approach. Young has got to survive until they get to that point.
I mean, you got on the point. It's not pretty. How is the Graviton? Jasper's got to be watching for it. It only caught Jasper in the mech. That's not what you want. You need more than that to consider it a 1 fight. Now it's up to T1W. What can they get up? What can Headlock do? Aprita! Oh no! He pulse bombs himself! Dear God, why? Oh no, the rally in now. T1W want to push back out. The only damage there is Taro Cookie's down at 5 HP. He can't peek anything. Only things are tanks maintaining space now for T1W. Young trying desperately to maintain something on this point, but the mines are going to be such a problem. No one can reconnect with the team. Young now stranded on an island. Physics gets another ultimate up. God knows how he did that in 1 fight, but it's still Team Chaser winning the fight off the back of a big anti-nade from Kyo. They've got the follow-up. They're starting at the percentage. It looks like it's enough, and just barely, it's going to be Team Chaser sending us on to a map 5.
Oh my goodness. T1W, they thought they had that fight. The hammer might come out. There is no Transcendence. There is no easy way of clearing it. And I'm going to say this name again. It feels like we've been saying it so many times tonight. Kyo. with the Ana, the anti-nade, the nano, able to keep the Winston up and alive, able to let them hit that primal. And that's when the hammer mines run out, the sustain runs out, and it all falls apart as we get to see that 5th map pop up on our screen.
I mean, we went on the emotional roller coaster of one-man Grav that only caught the tank into a Prita pulse bombs himself, which I don't think anybody ever expected, into physics gets a transcendence up, into mines come out, into everything looking as bad as humanly possible for Chaser. They still pull it back. Fantastic play by the tanks. Fantastic play by Kyo. The anti-nade was perfect to deny the transcendence any value. It was everything they needed and just barely Mox. Map 5 and in reverse way of what we saw it on Wednesday as well.
Q has impressed so much. Just by staying alive, right? The fact that all of that chaos is going through in the final fight and Q is able to keep themselves out of the wrong end of the kill feed. Just slowly, quietly keeping everybody up and alive. In T1W, we've seen them be able to counter a Prita. We're yet to see them be able to counter this Ana strat.
I will say, the Ana on control point going to be a little bit trickier. No, I don't doubt they're going to go for it. I mean, the confidence in which Kyo's been playing with is really, really high. And this is, again, going back to the coaching that we were talking about. We spoke about it. Yeah, this is the difference between Wednesday and today. There's not enough time for players to improve, but the strategy can change entirely. It changed basically at the flip of a coin at halftime. It had to be one of the coaches calls saying, hey, Kyo, you know, the Zenyatta not working out, bring out the Ana. And ever since, it has been coming up nothing but daisies for Chaser.
Because when you have the Ana, right, not only does she enable your team, but, and I'm sure every single Reinhardt who's played against an Ana knows this, she's the absolute bane of any enemy's existence to walk into when you don't have something like constant 24/7 defense matrix or a shield to hide behind, because those antis, they're going to come out, they're going to hit, and they're going to hurt in the moment, but also your chances of winning as a whole. And yeah, it's harder for the Ana to be able to stay alive and position well on control, but we also see on attack the fact that the Ana is able to stay alive because Team Chaser, they're playing the Ana like you would expect to see a Brig. They're keeping her nice and close and safe, and because she's nice and close and safe to the team, all of the peel, you can put it to the DPS, but you can also put it to the Ana side.
We got one map left. Best of 5 winner going to grand finals. Loser knocked out of it for good. And this is, I feel like irony is in full effect, Mox. It was Team Chaser choosing map 1 that I think both of us knew was not going to be super great for them strategically. And then T1W come out and they picked the map that they lost on map 1 earlier on in the week. This is just the entire name of the series in one run.
Well, T1W falling back onto that composition we saw very at the start of this series. It's the Reinhardt, it's the Mei, everything to stop Team Chaser from being able to just get in and control all of that space that the dive is going to have so much problem. But a Prit is already on the ball.
This is exactly what Team Chaser did last time. They gave up the space on point. They took the fight on point to allow a Prit of the space behind the team to play around, to do all the things he wants to do. So yes, the pressure's here. It looks good for T1W, but remember, at any point in time, Prit gonna do something in the backline. Kyo's down, so the sustain significantly has been lessened for Team Chaser. But it's not over yet. They'll back out, and I think without their Ana, they don't have too much of an intention of taking this one. It'll be X-Ray next in line to go down, but Team Chaser still hasn't lost another member.
And X-Ray, yep, still able to keep himself up with that jump back. Able to get in, and Q already racing towards that nano. But Physics has already got the amplification matrix. The problem is Team Chaser are so mobile, it's going to be really hard to pin any of these members down for a given amount of time. So when the ultimate comes out, it's going to be much more of zoning, of cutting off an angle for a Predator to approach on.
Prit is looking for an angle. Speaking of which, along the left, along the right side of points, cannot have any access to the back line. It's all really up to Tarkuk to put some pressure onto these tanks. With Implication Matrix, you've got no option to really peek into it. Being juggled around now by the Winston of X-Ray, but the Graviton's only going to make things worse now. Pulse Bomb's in, a Prit good for 2, and that's the combo we've been waiting for the entire time from Chaser.
Big bang, smaller bang, impactful bang, if you ask a Predator. Team Chaser, 50% picked up for T1W, nothing to sniff at, but they're the ones in control of the point now, and this is why we said it's the most dangerous territory for T1W to be in. And the fact that your amplification matrix found nothing, the same can be applied to this Blizzard. Night God has got to be able to land this when Team Chaser are together, but it's going to be so hard to wait for this team to cluster up.
And they're going to continue poking away at you. Mind you, the ultimate charge only gets better for Team Chaser the longer this gets staggered out. The Brawl has got to find a way to close that space a little bit more efficiently. The Lei Young also needs to be careful about getting walled off here. He's playing a bit aggressive, backs up halfway past the point. This is beautiful by Chaser, allowing now a Prita. There it is, along the left side, giving the space that he needs in the backline to do the work that he wants to do. Night God's down, no Blizzard in sight. T1W have got to win this one the old-fashioned way, and there's not enough elbow grease in the world, Mox.
Langsir popping that rally, all the aggression that Team Chaser needs as they're looking for those kills. Amplification matrix are actually coming out from physics just to try and keep the tide at bay. And all Team Chaser do is walk right through it. That's an ultimate T1W are going to be wanting back. They do have Night God back in this next push though, and that means the Blizzard potential is there as well. But Team Chaser already making sure, look at how they're splitting. If the Blizzard comes out, it's going to catch one, max two of these players. And the nano boost is going to be there. Kyo can keep them up through it.
And we saw earlier, X-Ray was juggling around the amplification matrix. X-Ray can do a pretty similar thing when the Blizzard comes out. Keep people from following up on any of the damage that the Blizzard actually would normally allow for. Let's see just how effective it is. Walls up, and it keeps the Winston at bay, having to jump away. Now X-Ray, not too many options, comes back in for re-engage. Anti-nade again, Night God! I mean, just let the guy press Q for Pete's sake. Headless down after another fight won off the back of the May pick. X-Ray, I mean, this is the easiest Primal Rage of his life, honestly.
Q should not be having an easy time as Ana either. T1W are at the moment running the anti-Ana composition. There's the Rhine Shield, there's the Defense Matrix, there's the Immortality Field. All of this is to stop those anti-needs from coming through. Because that Ana that we identified constantly ever since we saw halftime coming through, ever since the coaches, the players decided that they wanted to run this Ana, is the reason that Team Chaser have been able to recover so well. And T1W, they're so good at adapting. We said they need to find a problem. They need to find a solution to this Ana pick. Control coming in, well, they tried to run the Reinhardt. They tried to go back to what was successful for them, but the Ana coming in, they just have not been able to deal with that new little bit to the equation. But Q not going to be playing the Ana this time. They're going to be foregoing it for the BAP, so you use the Lucio, you rush in, and then a Predator just gets to go absolute ham with those Junkrat mines.
I mean, it's fairly map-specific picks for either side, but I've seen a Predator's Junkrat before. It is not something to scoff at. It is still fairly dangerous. Now space taken up, Symmetras on both sides, level 3 beams everywhere. This is a fight balanced on a knife's edge, and it's Late Young who goes down first. The push in now damage significantly higher for T1W. They've got themselves two, but Dark Cookie's trying to put up some kind of a fight. There's just not enough stuff in front of him, though, to give him time to do it.
Another thing, one slight difference we are seeing between these teams right now is Jasper on the Sigma and Late Young on the Zarya. So with the Zarya against the Junkrat, you charge up the beams so quickly because of the damage coming in that bursts the bubbles, but Jasper just gets to Sigma shift it. So the damage, it isn't charging up the enemy, and it's completely denying the ultimate charge from a Predator as well.
Be a little bit choosier, but Team Chaser now, they've got their way in. They've got the beams charged up. The turrets are not much of a problem for T1W. They're backing away, giving space, waiting for the ultimates to come up. Rip tires in. That's exactly what they're waiting for. Night God doesn't find anything. Instead, it's Akita. 2 on to the Symmetra. Gets taken out, though. Tar Cookie's down as well. Both teams significantly lacking in damage. Gravitic Flux, how big is it is the question. Answer, big enough. T1W find themselves a clean win off the back of it.
Sigma Flux coupled up with Amplification Matrix. The biggest counter to Amp Matrix is the fact that you can just disengage from it, but you can't do that if you're stuck in the sky, and Q had already used the Immortality Field, so Team Chaser forced off the point yet again. And Night God, this is where the Junkrat reigns supreme, right? When you can just spam down these chokes, you will charge up Langsir and Kyo's ultimate, but you also really do keep Team Chaser, and more specifically X-Ray Shield at bay, because it is now a battle between the Reigns, a battle between the Shatter.
Who's good for the Shatter? Oh no, it was open on the side lane of Prita. That was the easiest cleanup of his life. What a Shatter by X-Ray. I mean, you mentioned a battle between the Reinhardts, but it's just slightly off positioning by the supports, actually, to not be ready for that speed Shatter. Hats off to Langs and X-Ray for coming up with that one.
Akita tried. You saw the symbol coming out, right? They knew what would happen in a second that they were out of the umbrella of Hetlot Shield. But now, you do have to worry if your Team Chaser about that Shatter coming through, and I love this get out of jail for free Symmetra teleporter coming out. They still get to pump a little bit of poke damage, but none of them get punished for it.
Late Young's looking for a sneaky grab. I'm afraid you've been found, bud. Anyways, it's a Prita now. Tire. No! Everyone knew it was coming, but nobody was ready for it, Moxie.
Oh, Immortality Field came out. trying to keep the team alive through the gravestone, but the gravestone wasn't what you had to worry about. It was that tire coming through. It twisted, it wound, it found its way, and it got itself a 3K. It's now Team Chaser looking strong. As 2-1W still not able to use the shadow, still not able to close up that distance, and X-Ray's about to lap Hetlot in charge.
Mind you, though, it is still only 45%. We've got a long way to go on this point. Hetlot not pushing forward. Shatter declined this time. And Predator, though, on the flank angle. Oh, what a beautiful off angle by the DPS and the Zarya. There was a fight on two fronts for Team Chaser, but in the perfect spot.
I mean, you can't turn your shield around. You can't defend from the Junkrat. Otherwise, you open yourself up to X-Ray Shatter. This is the Team Chaser that we have seen, putting all of their resources, making T1W pick between taking on the Tracer or a Predator, and picking out that tank. And T1W, 74%. They just got crossed.
Line up, Akita! Oh boy, that's enough. Amplification Matrix and a Deadeye will absolutely do it. Good follow-up as well. Taro Cookie embarrassingly getting two, but eventually cleaned up. Fight one for T1W. This is going down to the wire, Mox. Team Chaser are a fight win away from being able to call this a reverse sweep, but T1W are doing everything in their power to stop it.
I mean, T1W now do have access to one of the most brutal chokes in Overwatch if they want to aggressively push forward, but they're choosing to keep their distance, and honestly, with the means available to Team Chaser, it's a wise choice. You don't want to stay close when there's a Junkrat tower. You want the time to be able to shoot it out, as the Predator already rips it out.
Predator's out, so Znykov, though, they teleported the tire into the back line. This is gross! And it doesn't find anything, though. Let Young down. It's all up to the Griddick Flux. Sound Bear's enough, but it didn't save the Reinhardt. They missed. T1W, they've got enough to keep this one going to one more point, Mox. We're going all the way.
Yeah, they've got the numbers. They've got the sustain. The BAP's still alive as Team Chaser try to keep that overtime burning, but it is not enough. T1W will take control center, and we're going all the way to Night Market. And these teams, oh my goodness, you can see both of them have very different playstyles, and both of them find the same amount of value with them when it works out. And really it is going to come down to who can get control of these chokes first, because we've seen how long it can take a team to bust through, and that time can be all the difference between who walks away and who gets to head up and face Billy Billy.
Oh God, Mox, I'm gonna take a step back from the details, from the nitty gritty. I love this season of Chinese Contenders. Every game has been this close. Every single team is giving it everything they got, but only one more team, like you mentioned, gets to go to the finals. Line up for both sides. One team running ball, one team on dive. Signature comp versus signature comp. It's T1W on the point first. We mentioned how important this is against Team Chaser earlier on. How fortunate you are to get the first ticket. So much easier to hold space against a player like a Predator, but he's over onto the far. The spam damage is going to be coming in. Taro Cookie's looking to build up an EMP to get them in this fight first. Chaser look content with just holding their ground outside the point and waiting for the value to come from their DPS.
Well, they do have that line of sight, the natural coverage to hide behind for when a Predator tries to poke, but Q is actually back on the Ana, and so can enable these DPS and X-Ray specifically to get to go forward aggressively, but the Maywall is there! This is the difference. Team Chaser, they're so mobile, but they play lone wolf style. Kyo is not going to have the same level of support that we've seen on the likes of Dorado, and T1W, the second they see that Ana, they're pouncing.
I mean, look, what's more mobile, like an Ana or 6 players through a single teleporter? That was crazy. That's the creativity we expect from T1W, though. The second you leave something open, they're going to punish you for it. Now Team Chaser in the same exact position, but the ultimates that they're looking for, the EMP, the barrage, they're nowhere to be found. Same TP behind, though. This time punished by X-Ray. They get the hell out of dodge, but they leave Akita behind. Oh, no. Poor guy can't get out. Amplification Matrix now to try and keep him alive. Primal Rage is enough, though, and there's enough chaos on point that a Predator should be able to clean up the rest of these health bars.
Yeah, no one now to try and target Q, and you can already see that anti-nade coming in. Huge Hetlot down to it. Team Chaser finally in control of this space, and this is where T1W are forced to change things up, right? You can't run the same composition now that you don't have that space, now that you're running into a Pharah who can just spam choke. Akita's going to stay on the Symmetra, so you try and take a little bit of the distance, a little bit of the poke damage away, but Apreda's just waiting, knows the teleport is going to be coming through, and splits the team.
That's curious. Okay, the teleport in, teleport back. I've never seen that one before, but they're trying to line something up. They're trying to wait for an engage onto their team when they can punish with Night God's Blizzard or the wall, but instead going for the backline, looking for another one of those creative teleports onto the supports, but there's not much to be had. They are keeping it pretty far, but the EMP is going to be enough. They just gave Team Chaser more time off the clock.
T1W, they're staying in this fight though. They're allowing Team Chaser so much percentage and also stagger picks. If Apritta didn't have a barrage, he'd have another one right now. T1W are going to be forced to walk into this. They don't have the Diva. They have nothing to mitigate this other than Headlock Shield, and if Akira is fast enough, that's the Metro barrier, but Apritta is just waiting to pull that trigger.
This is such a difficult engage. We talk about the creativity of T1W, but sometimes it goes a little too far. Feels like they need to stick to the status quo. There's Teleporter, followed up by the wall. Barrage is only good for one, and it trades out for Apritta, so it's not the worst thing, but it's countered by the Graviton. The beat is late for Raindrop, and now it's a disaster. They don't keep the tanks alive, and thus your team will fall like a house of cards. Team Chaser looking good, 74%, just about a fight and a half away from a sweet, sweet victory, Mox.
And Akira is now going to swap to the McCree, but you don't have the line of sight, you don't have the angle. Apritta is playing above your head, and unless you can get out of that choke, you have no way, unless you can hit the Fire Toes, of being able to get damage to stick, and that's not going to be enough to down her when Lynx is still pocketing.
They've got ultimates to work with, though. Coalescence to engage for Physics. Graviton Surge keeps both the tanks in check. Both of them going down. No, X-Ray stays alive somehow by the miracle of Kyo's Nano Boost. But without Late Young in the fight, they lose a lot of damage. Akita, what a flank as well! All the way around the backside. There's nowhere to go for Team Chaser. T1W look to take the point back just at 99%.
They needed this. They needed that fight because Team Chaser, they've got the barrage, they've got the EMP. But Akira is now going to have the time, the setup to take Apritta out of the sky before the fight starts. It all comes down to how many this EMP is going to hit. You don't need to worry about catching out the Lucio or the Moira. The support ultimates are not going to be there. You just have to be able to go undetected.
Tar Cookie dancing around the back line.
Oh, no.
Dabbling with Physics. EMP only connects onto two. With Headlock and Jasper down, the main tank gets blown up. Absolutely taken out immediately. And now with a kite down, T1W slowly bleeding out members of Moira down low. X-Ray coming in big. Team Chaser came for what is rightfully theirs, taking the point back over. And at 99%, 5 maps later, they're going to send themselves on to a grand finals.
Oh my goodness. T1W looked so strong at the beginning of this series, though, but Team Chaser came back with a vengeance. You can tell, really, that Ana Winston, it's really what's allowing them to just step it up, right? Every single other time that they stayed away from the Ana, that was when they came out feeling the sting of defeat on the map. The second that they return to it, that's when they find success. And while it does worry me slightly for their matchup going up against Billy, right? Because there are some maps, like we saw in Control, where you can't brute force the Ana. You can't just jam her into your composition and expect it to still find the same value. But now we get to see a Team Chaser emboldened, knowing that it's not just their DPS that's supported, it's the tank lineup as well.
Now I'm worried, right? You've got a really, really strong-looking Team Chaser. Yes, they beat the team that gave them hell on Wednesday, but now they're going up against a team that they haven't managed to beat, that they haven't managed to successfully adapt to. Billy Gaming feels like the monster at the end of this trial for Team Chaser. And honestly, Mox, I'm honestly unsure of whether or not they can do this.
Well, either way, I think, and I said it at the start, I'm going to say it again, I think we're in for the long haul here, though. It's going to be a first of all, and I would not be surprised if we see the full 7 maps coming up in just a little bit.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you one thing. It'll be guaranteed to be exciting. It'll be guaranteed to be a fun one. Team Chaser versus Billy is coming up next in just a couple minutes, so stay tuned. And we're back. Moxie and I have caught our breaths, got some water, and we're ready for a grand finals. That's right. It's first of four, baby, and it's Billy versus Team Chaser. I'm grinning ear to ear because this is like the dream, especially for me and my predictions, which have stayed intact. Mind you, I've got Chaser all the way, and I've never been wrong in my entire life. Everybody knows that.
Didn't you lose one? I'm pretty sure one behind.
Don't tell anybody. I'm making up
Oh,
that
look,
I'm making
see?
up that point that I am the only person who is getting match 2 correct today. I'm telling you.
I mean, you still have to get it right to be able to close the difference between me, Kenobi, and Britch, but sure, I'll let you have that one.
I've never been wrong in my life. The three's a typo, honestly. Like, we'll see how it ends. Anyways, let's talk a little bit more about the match because we just got to see a whole lot of Team Chaser. We got to see Kyo shift over to the Ana, which question is, do they even keep that going? Mind you, they've played this match on the same day, so the adaptation might stay if they think that's what they want to run. But Billy is a very different beast to that of T1W, aren't they?
Yeah. Billy, Team Chaser, these guys have met before, and it was a long one. So if you expect this to be a short series, well, I hate to say, but you're gonna be in for a very long round of Overwatch, because the last time these guys met, it was a 3-2, and Billy was able to walk away with that one after some closely fought rounds. Some not so closely fought, but Billy do seem like they are a little bit stronger in terms of tank lineup, right? At least the traditional Team Chaser that we got to see on Wednesday and on Thursday. This current Team Chaser, I don't know. I feel like this tank lineup has closed up that distance. Late Young and X-Ray have really impressed me today, though.
Yeah, late young Zarya looked fantastic. X-Ray, I think, on the Winston was kind of the big change for me. The Wrecking Ball, it was okay. It was going toe to toe with Headlock. I didn't see like a huge difference between the two. But once the Winston came out, especially backed up by Kyozan, and that was kind of the two-man hit squad that created so much more force in the second half. That allowed for that reverse sweep to happen. That's what I'm looking for in this game, and I want to see that flexibility continue. Yes, maybe they don't come out on it, and if that works for them, so be it. But I want to see them be willing to go back and forth between those two because this is a game where I promise you it's going to be very difficult to rely on a Prita because the other team here, let's talk a little bit more about Billy. We haven't seen them at all today, but oh my God, this team is stacked to the brim.
I mean, 800 and Kodomo. If you want to talk tanks, these guys have been just doing such a good job all week. 800 has been absolutely perfect in creating space, but Kodomo Zarya, there is nothing lacking behind this guy. And I know a lot of people are thinking that Aprida's going to be moving up to Overwatch League when he hits that Sweet 18 spot, but Kodomo and 800, I really do feel already have spots pretty much booked for them the second that they hit that coming of age door, because these guys, not only are they able to keep the supports up and create space for the DPS to pop off, but they do such a good job at being able to actually see off the tanks of the other side as well.
I feel like we'd be remiss not mentioning Pineapple as well. I mean, come on. It's Pineapple, for Pete's sake. The patron saint, the child of Chinese contenders. Now nearly of age. I think 1 year before he was Overwatch League eligible. And he was the one really putting up the Dukes up against Dia last year. He's the only person. I would put his Ash above Dia's, in fact. But then some of the other matchups were a little bit shakier. But that's where Alpha Yi comes in. He's been playing a fantastic Mei, a fantastic Echo. The Tracer's been a little bit shaky. So again, it's not exactly going to be an answer to a Prita, but all the tools are here for Billy.
One thing we have seen, though, and witnessed firsthand today, is that Aprita does not necessarily need to lose that DPS duel, right? The tanks can keep this guy in check. So if Billy feel that Pineapple and Alfie are going to get more value going for the supports instead of trying to out-duel Aprita, they can still find their team victory. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether Billy try to go for that same level of adaptation that we saw T1W in picking high ground and trying to hold that space above a Predator's head. And picking Ilios definitely leans into that playstyle.
And I think it's the right call, right? One of the biggest places where we saw this Team Chaser roster struggle was when they had to play any sort of brawl. Whereas I think on the opposing side, Billy are more than happy to, right? If you play brawl, that just means Pineapple gets to play Ash, and you can put Alpha Yi on like the Mei or the Echo, and you can just start farming off the back of your DPS. And I don't really think that Team Chaser really has an answer to something like an Echo. Yes, a Prita can play it, but it's not the same as the Tracer. So they've got to use it anywhere they can get it. And right now, they'll be matching dive on either side.
Yeah, Billy as well, I feel definitely watched Team Chaser against T1W on this very map, which seems to be the weakest we've seen Team Chaser on Control, at least previously on Wednesday. T1W were able to walk away with one map, so Billy must feel confident in that one map loss, that they feel that they can keep widening that distance. It will be Dive coming out. Alfie going to be going onto that Tracer, trying to nip the heels of Kyo, who will be sticking on that Ana. But something we're seeing Tara Cookie teasing and coming out on is that McCree. They know that the Tracer is going to be there, that their Ana is the weakest link. They're going to be putting that CC in place to stop them.
Oh, I love the choice here so far. Quick disclaimer, it is first to four. I know the top, it's lying to you like everything else in your life, but not us. We're telling you all the action. And right now, the action says Team Chaser is large and in charge of this.
Yeah, Team Chaser with that extra little bit of CC and the fact that they can use it to keep Kyo safe. Already 60% of the way to a nano boost, we should add. Just absolutely rolling over Billy, who got stuck. Not having that mobility that Dive really needs to be able to thrive off of. If Team Chaser can just catch you right in the middle of the axe before you actually get that dive going off, Billy are going to have a very hard time not only keeping that DPS up, but the supports and tanks as well.
It's always tough moving in on Team Chaser, but they've got the position that they want. I'm holding the high ground. I mean, if there was ever a time to put Tracer Diff in chat, it is absolutely right now. Cleans him. Kodomo forced down himself, and without the DPS, Team Chaser are holding like really strong. Doesn't do it justice, Box. Let's be real with ourselves.
Billy just can't get the dive to come through. There's so much CC on Team Chaser that by the time 800 is actually in position to try and knock them off the high ground above that point, he just gets bounced away. And even now, if Billy try and wait for Team Chaser to make the first move, they're going to be walking right into that nano boosted Winston. And actually so close to that primal, so much enabling once again coming from Kyo. Pineapple's just relegated onto this high ground, trying to pick apart anyone's head as they show themselves, but Chaser doing such a good job at staying away.
I mean, you know, a lot of times you're looking for some sort of ultimate difference to get yourself in here, some sort of answer to what the other team's getting up, but Team Chaser have been ahead in the ultimate charge. It's all down to the shots. 800 finds a big pick onto Late Young, though, which gives them a way into the fight, and also the point, all off of the back of one pick. It shows that, yes, while Team Chaser look very strong when they're playing proactively, when they're playing their way, it will crumble if you manage to take one of those pieces out of the equation.
And now it's going to be a lot harder for Team Chaser to come into this. They don't have that immediate boost of his space that guarantees you with a nano boosted Winston. You will have the primal. And we've seen X-Ray has some amazing juggles. We've seen them juggle out enemies of their ultimates, but they could use it to juggle Billy into a Deadeye.
That's a dangerous proposition, Mox. There's a lot of ultimates up on the board. It could be any number of combos that do it, but it's the engagement with mines for 800. Good value found, but it just forces Team Chaser back. Smart play by the team trying to make the push in. Only 30% up on the board for the opposing side. So there's not too much to be scared of, but you're looking for the proper engage of yourself. You want to be the team making the first move, looking for the backline, looking for the Zarya if her bubble gets forced out, maybe even a Tracer if Alpha Yi pushes too far. A little bit of dive in from the Winston that does it. Counter rally by Hyunjae. They've gotten the value that they want, so they're trying to back out now. They don't want to full engage, but they'll happily take it as Billy overextended into them. 800 goes a little too far, and that's a ticket for X-Ray to get into the back line.
Oh, 800 really wishing he had those Hammond plans. Team Chaser more than content to just be raided off one approach rather than the entire point, as now the fight's widened out. The mobility that is there for this dive composition is in full swing. Billy still coming up from the kill feed. Irony keeping the team's hopes alive with that Transcendence, but it's going to run out in a matter of seconds, and Kyo's nano boost is still going strong. Aprit is the one who gets the steroids this time.
I mean, points back and forth. No one can decide which way it's going. This map is a veritable seesaw. And Team Chaser now win the fight. They take they're going to take the point back in their favor, right? Right? No, they've got to take another fight. They've got to kill more people.
Billy just throwing themselves onto the point, making sure that Team Chaser can't put themselves onto the high ground and stop this dive composition from coming in before the fight's ready. And while they have been able to get that point flip, it is allowing Billy a little bit of a contest, but that is going to be the end of it. Hyunjae falls down. No break. They should be able to get a touch with 800's Hammond, but they don't have the ultimates to finish off the fight.
Yeah, it's not a pretty touch. You can't leave anybody back to peel for Pineapple. Kodomo, rather, is looking the other way. Yes, you can get a couple touches in here, but unless we can see something huge from Alpha Yi, I don't think it happens. And Aprita certainly has a much more formidable Tracer in a lot of the maps. This one will go over to Team Chaser. Billy, remember, they're looking at those other maps and they're saying, hey, we've got an answer to this. We're not too worried.
Well, if you're Billy, you're really hoping that well pops up, because that's when we've seen Team Chaser struggle on control. If they win the fight, it's absolutely the strong Team Chaser that we're used to seeing. But if Well pops up and you lose, and that high ground is allowed over to Billy, the same style that Team Chaser was using that high ground, squirreling the space away to make sure that 800's dive was not successful, that tactic is going to be turned on X-Ray's Winston.
And one of the big things here, right, with X-Ray's Winston comes Kyozana, which we haven't mentioned in an entire map, which I feel like is a good thing for them. Because the one thing that you lack when you lack Zenyatta is Transcendence, but Billy have not successfully landed a Graviton Pulse Bomb. In fact, really any sort of big Graviton combo yet to punish it.
It's because Team Chaser are just playing so far apart, right? The mobility is there for this team, so if one person gets caught out by Grav, it is just the one person. Billy gonna be running Alfie on the Echo, but no Mercy, which means no damage boost, but also nothing to really safeguard the Echo from Taro Cookie's McCree. So if you have the space, the sightlines, this Echo is going to be very, very short-lived.
I mean, I'll be real, as much as it's not technically the pick, I do think it's a better pick for Alfie. I think trying to 1v1 Aprita on the Tracer is just not a fight you're going to win any day of the week. And Alfie has a fantastic Echo. I think it really can hang with some of the better ones here in Chinese Contenders. So it's a good swap over for them, in my opinion. But it hasn't quite gained them the point yet. Team Chaser are the ones in charge of that.
Yeah, they keep their toes just touching that little corner, and Alfie, despite putting so much threat down, trying to force them into the open, isn't able to find the damage, the spam potential that is there for Echoes when they have full control of space. And the Predator going just a little bit aggressive is able to pick Irony out. Hyundai did not have the shield bash to keep the Tracer in check, and that one kill immediately spirals into all-out aggression as Chaser goes brawl.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the right move, because the question here for Billy is now, yeah, we swapped over to the Echo, and now Pineapple is the one on Tracer. We're going to play neutral game. We're going to try and poke them down, but what does that end with? It's supposed to end with a big ultimate combo. Now it'll be Pineapple comboed with Kodomo, but that Graviton's a long way away. You're already at 40% here, and it's not looking too great. He might have to use it early. He's searching for it. Oh, nobody's got a clue he's here. That's one. Looking for another. Doesn't find the stick on the Ana. Way to go, Kyo, getting away from that one. Now it's a counter dive in for Team Chaser, looking real good to do so as well. Zoned off now. Alfie is looking for the pick onto the Winston. That looks to be enough as well. Billy find a great engage and some great follow-up to take the fight.
Fight's still going though. Team Chaser not giving this one up. They know that they can still get a little bit of percentage on Billy. They have to keep a hold of their resources if they want to win this next fight.
Well, so much for keeping hold of our resources. That's a Graviton in. But they've still got some more ultimates back it up. It's not the end of the world. The Team Chaser are coming in with one of their own, which is something to note here.
Yeah, that Graviton could have been used to couple it up with 800's mines. Team Chaser are feeling extremely happy to have pulled that one out because X-Ray's going to be hitting that primal, right? Taro Cookie with the Deadeye. They can force Billy to take a step backwards to get away from those rather than holding that ground and keeping Chaser at bay. And that's when a Predator can get in and do some real damage.
And it's interesting, right? Because Team Chaser are coming up on their Graviton, but Aprita is far away from the Pulse Bomb. The follow-up for it is really unclear, and Irony has a Transcendence, which should pretty much counter this whole thing. Yep, there's Transcendence. Mines are out. Really smartly used by Billy. They zone the rest of the team off. Taro Cookie has a couple places to go. Now it's a Graviton of their own to try and counter it in. Billy all sorts of caught up in this one, but nothing from Team Chaser is going down.
Oh, Alvin goes for the duplicate, tries to get another Graviton off, opts into the Zarya, knowing that Chaser don't have that Zen. If the Grav had come through, that would have been an immediate fight win, but they're able to take that duplicated Zarya out of the way before the ultimate is up, and now Chaser just get to find the stragglers. Billy lose the fight, lose the Echo ultimate, and lose a whole host of the rest of them. They're having to farm as we approach final fight, and Chaser, they're still holding on to 2.
Yeah, farming into final fight does not feel good, to say the least. And again, you're farming for a pretty tricky combo to get going with Pineapple and Kodomo. Irony is the next closest thing you've got to a fight-winning ultimate. They have to engage off the back of it, but Aprita will always be lurking with that Pulse Bomb, threatening the pick on your Zenyatta. Patience has got to be something in your book, but with Billy losing now their tank, trading it for Aprita, I think that's actually pretty worth it. Hyunjae finds a big one, and now the cleanup starts to come in. Taro Cookie doesn't have to worry about that Pulse Bomb anymore. They can start making a clean engage. Pineapple's starting with a Pulse. No connection, but no space really quite made for the green side yet.
And here comes the Deadeye as well, 99% picked up Team Chaser. The second that flip comes through, the Deadeye's going to be that to zone and keep Billy from touching.
And it was such a well-played fight by Team Chaser. They're getting patient again. They're looking confident again, and they're looking good for map 1 for the first time today. Last time, got beat out pretty early by T1W, but no longer. They come away with the map type, which we preached is theirs earlier.
Yeah, I love to see it as well. We worry that maybe the Ana would only be temporary, something to run against T1W, but they're sticking with it and they're still reaping the same amount of rewards. Beautiful play, beautiful synergy coming out from this team. And if they keep running this Ana, it's going to be the same problem for Billy, right? You have to find a way to shut her down, which means getting into the back of this team. But if you try and put all of your resources into getting into the back of the team, you're gonna lose the fight on the front line. And Team Chaser are just so good at forcing teams' hands, at making them take fights, which means that they're at disadvantages for others.
And you know what's kind of the really interesting thing for me is, right? Yes, it's the same team CC, that style as you mentioned of forcing really, really bad fights and bad engagements for opposing sides. But it's also a different composition. At the beginning of the week, we are saying, hey, we're looking at Team Chaser. They're coming out of the beginning of Chinese contenders, and they're trying to play this Mercy. They're trying to do the same thing that Chengdu is doing, and then that didn't work for them, and they've been swapping over to the Brig more commonly. But then that's just all been flipped on its head. Now we're seeing Ana. And like the last day, this team has played everything, and it's kind of shifted from that, hey, we're going to play whatever the hell we want, to now I think they're making the right adaptations. They're saying, hey, you know what, these teams are good, they're giving them the respect they deserve, and they're getting rewarded for it.
I mean, one thing as well that it should be noted is that when Lengser has played Mercy, a lot of the time it has been to enable a Prida. In the same way that Team Chaser previously just pumped so much resources into allowing a Prida to just go ham. When the Mercy came out, a Prida would normally be on the Echo. You would go for the damage boost, that mobility, to keep the Echo just a little bit head above the water in terms of that damage. Now that a Prida is just sticking on that Tracer and finding value on the Tracer, you don't have to worry about consistently pocketing the guy. He's going to be able to keep himself safe with that level of mobility available to Tracers, and the fact that you can just walk over to health packs.
I love that he's shifted from the focal point of this composition to something that just gives them a leg up, because the rest of the team is very, very good. We've seen X-Ray all day, like on Wednesday, right? Take for against T1W on Kings Row. Like the tank difference was pretty real there, but it's because they were investing so much into Aprita, they couldn't invest it into themselves. Now they're saying, hey, Aprita, go do your thing. You're going to have a little bit less, but now the rest of the team comes in. We're fully capable. We said from the beginning of the season that this Team Chasers roster is completely stacked to the brim, but I don't think they've ever been able to fully utilize that until now, which, I mean, better late than never, I guess.
I mean, it's wonderful seeing that adaptation as well, because on Wednesday, you could really tell that the resources going into Aprita meant that the rest of the team was having to budget. The peel was not there for the support.
No.
The tanks didn't feel as enabled as they wanted to, but now that you have all of that spread evenly, everyone is able to find their moments and have so much sustain and consistency. And I can hear you right now, though. The
Look,
turn is setting in. Kingsrow is going to be the map up next, and oh boy, does this one have a history with how Team Chaser like to play Point B.
I know I've been beefing up these tanks right now. X-Ray and Later, you've been doing a fantastic job today. But sending it back to the map that was decided by you not being able to win the tank fight is look, it's gonna be a tough one. It was a good pick by Billy. I don't think there's any denying that.
Well, Team Chaser seems like they want to keep the Winston and the Zarya. They're not going to be opting in for the Sigma. Neither are Billy actually. So anyone in control of the high ground is going to be whoever can stand on it long enough without that dive bullying them immediately away. And Tara Cookie on that McCree already trying to find any sort of opening. As X-Ray sees the space, decides they'll take it.
That was really good by Billy. I want to point out the reservedness that they had. They didn't shoot the bubble. They didn't shoot the monkey. They didn't shoot anything. They didn't want to give any extra ult charge over to the Ana or the Zarya. That was fabulously played by Billy. They are prepped for this. They are ready. And they're not going to let this high ground go without a fight.
Well, Tara Cookie already situated up in hotels, going to be doing everything they can to stop 800 from just absolutely wrecking X-Ray's day. Kidomo has now moved into that same position, but remember, Team Chaser, if they can just keep contesting that point, are going to eventually force Billy down.
Well, the contest works out for him. Billy's still ahead. Aprita's out of the way now from the high ground. Taro Cookie can start making some problems, but I mean, it's about getting up there first, and he hasn't. I mean, you've gone through hotel. Congratulations. You've wrapped around the point, but you've never actually touched it.
Well, Kyo does have the nano boost, and all of this has been built up, and it is going to be going on to X-Ray, allowing him to move on to the high ground and put up a lot more threat. Billy now looking a little bit less comfortable.
That is until Aprita goes down again. The carry's out of the way. Alpha, you now lurking with the pulse bomb. What do you got for us, bud?
Oh, no.
What do you got for us? No stick. Oh, that was a little bit awry. Still, though, did force the Ana forward. Kyo put into an uncomfortable situation. Doesn't get punished, though. It's 800 instead. in the backline. The dive timing seemed to be a little bit off for Bilibili. Their rotations have fallen apart, it seems, and now it's only the people on the high ground. Only the Zarya can contest. Kodomo, I don't think stands much of a chance here. They've got to maintain both Hotel and the point, so through slow, maintained pressure, Team Chaser have done what they always do.
Now, Bilibili knew, though, that they could give up that Bob because they have that instant win, right? Team Chaser still not running that Zenyatta, still don't have the Transcendence to clear the Graviton and the mines that are going to be following it in this next fight, so Bilibili do have that win condition. If Team Chaser group up, allowing them to use it, and Tarakuki already just searching out all of these angles, making sure he is not going to be there to try and bring a Predator down.
You know what's the funny part is they won that fight despite the fact that a Predator went down, though. And now it's to the point that Team Chaser were very woeful to go to last time. But with X-Ray on the Winston, I don't think that's going to be the case. They can maintain this. He's still got his leap. He's still got Primal. The odds that this monkey go down are slim to none. Now around one corner. Alpha trying to build up a Pulse Bomb, namely for the combo. Kodomo's got the Graviton. There it is. It caught everybody. The Pulse Bomb. He's waiting for the bubbles to go down. The bubbles, are they cleared? Answer, no. Great job by Late Young holding those to the last second to make sure they denied all the value for that Pulse Bomb was going to get.
And I mean, the Hammer Mines came out from 800, but Team Chaser were actually inside the room, so the Hammer Mines didn't cover where they were in the Graviton. Team Chaser, with some really smart positioning, let themselves not only live through the devastating combination that they should have no right in being able to live through, but they're able to use a Graviton of their own to win the fight, and Bilibili exhausted their supply of ultimates. That was their fight to win, and Team Chaser just swept the ground out of their feet.
And I don't think Bilibili can actually contest this. If they go anywhere near this, it's just going to be Deadeye, and then good day. You know, you're out of here. There's no real way to contest this cleanly. Your supports aren't going to have LOS in time, and rightfully so. Backing off 172, the distance they have to break, but there, down goes the tank. There's just no real way to stop this Deadeye from getting value, and Team Chaser not only clean that up, but they get more ultimate charge out of it as well.
I mean, Tarakuki just tips the hat, because Hyunji and Irony weren't even able to use that contest to build up ultimates. Bilibili's forces just went down too quickly. Now X-Ray's right in your spawn, farming your backline, your front line, building up Primal, and even able to get themselves out and allow Kyo to again build up so quickly to that nano.
I mean, Team Chaser are pushing every advantage they get. X-Ray looks so much more comfortable on this compared to what we saw on Wednesday when they were playing on Kings Road. The Winston has done wonders for this team. He's looking for more. He's got a nano in the backline. It's the only ultimate available, though, for Team Chaser. So if this one doesn't connect, the question is which one will, because Pineapple's got a Bob aimed surely at the cart right now to make sure the contest works out for him. There it is. Bob in, probably on top of the cart right about now. Absolutely is. Knocked into the back hallway, and it'll be Bilibili cleaning up. They've at least put a stop to the bleeding for the time being, but a 3-minute time bank is still pretty scary.
3 minutes can disappear so quickly on point C of Kings Row, though. Just because of the high ground that's now going to be available for Pineapple, Team Chaser are going to be walking right into this gauntlet. And oh my goodness, RPE! Going so aggressively, trying to force out any form of CC from Tarakuki, burn out that flashbang so 800 can move in with these mines and not get stopped short.
I will say, coming into this fight, like, you're trying to force out CC, yes, but Team Chaser don't have that much. Like, it's just a rally and a monkey. Whereas Bilibili have mines, grav, trace. Like, there's a lot of fight-winning ultimates here. Plus, the combo of the Big Bang is still being available to them. They'll be chucked in. Alpha U with the pulse. There it is. Catch on to Late Young. Should be that simple tool to win the fight. But no, Irony pops a trance?
Yeah, that's the painful part. Was forced to pop the trans to keep themselves alive through the Primal. And the nanoed Winston that preceded it. And Bilibili, they've got the rally. A little bit of sustain, but Team Chaser, they've got a rally of their own and a Deadeye, which is going to be all of the ultimate you need to force Bilibili to take a step back to vacate the high ground.
Oh man, what a dive by Bilibili as well. In aggressively, they're being proactive about what they're using, not letting Team Chaser get any of those ultimates up that you're talking about. Yes, the Graviton's nearly on. Yes, the Nano's nearly there. But the man advantage is pretty clear. 800 does go down in the heat of the moment, though. You got to be careful you don't overextend in moments like these. And I think Team Chaser have found exactly what they want.
Yeah, they were so intent in making sure that Tarakuki just did not have the space to pop that Deadeye. When the McCree goes down, they're unfortunately still in Team Chaser's space. The Nano comes through and X-Race is able to gobble them all up. Grav's still online for Late Young, and Tarakuki still holding onto that Deadeye. Hyunjae is forced onto the map to use Immortality Field to try and see their way through it.
And this is really tough because you can't get on top of Kyo in this moment. You have to be worrying about contesting the cart and all sorts of that. The pulse bomb is a good attempt, followed up by 800. It's made even better. And Bilibili, with the one opening they had one shot at that dive. Otherwise, the cart was going to cross over. Kyo goes down, and the team falls apart.
This is why we praise 800, right? Because you're right. In the sense of the fight, right? Everyone's looking at that payload. That Ana should have gone completely unnoticed, but 800 goes for the Ana. Make sure that the team chasers supports their cutoff, and that means that the rest of the team has absolutely nowhere to stand. And now 1 minute left on the clock. Yunjay forced not only onto the bat, but now onto the Mercy. Going to have the res, going to have the damage boost to enable Pineapple to find an early pick. Because that's when Bilibili gets to walk away with an advantage.
I mean, Irony's racing up to a trance. Is that the Graviton? Yeeted from downtown. What the hell? Was that? It had to be some sort of fat finger from Team Chaser. Anyways, they've got nothing left. Now it's Bilibili's turn. An easy punch, counter punch. Winston lengths it down. That they didn't even flinch. They saw. Wait, what? I think Bilibili's confused what that Graviton was.
I can see why Late Young would try to use it if it wasn't a fat finger, right?
Well, you've got some good vision.
The Ashe. You aim at the Ashe, you expect the Ashe to be on that high ground, you catch the Mercy at the same time because she is damage boosting them, and that means that Taro Cookie gets 2 heads to shoot at rather than 1. If they'd been able to be caught, Team Chaser wouldn't have to worry about the approach, but now the Grav is gone. They still have to uproot the Ashe, they still have to uproot the Hammond.
And they've still got a trance. Since the Graviton didn't hit, Transcendence was not forced out. Lengths it down, though, is a pretty good start to things here for Bilibili. Bought the contest cart, thrown into the backline. The supports are sectioned off. The Ana nowhere near. Kyo has to wrap all the way around the Mega Pack right now, and that takes a good bit of time, but Chaser's made the space to allow them to get to at least that position. X-Ray dropping low. Those bad news bears for Team Chaser. And without a main tank, the team's gotta bring it back just a little bit, play a little slower. There's no real contest here available for him. Someone's got to get there. It's a Prita, but he goes down, offering his life up on the chopping block for it, and Bilibili stopped the full cap.
Yeah, lengths are cut down. Raleigh still not going to be there for Team Chasers. Taro Cookie forced into the side room, not able to touch. And Bilibili defend. We talked about it, how hard it can be for that payload to move once it stalls on point C. Bilibili just does an absolute masterclass, and do you know what? Wherever it was the fat finger, wherever it was over-optimism, that Graviton cost Team Chaser in the long run.
Yeah, that one's seared into the back of my eyeballs for at least a map. We'll see if it gets better for Late Young. I'm sure it does. Like, maybe there's an idea behind it, but let's let bygones be bygones. Team Chaser's playing pretty well today. They've still got a shot at holding this. It wasn't a bad push by any means. It's absolutely winnable for them. We've seen them full hold this point on A, but it's a tall task against Bilibili, who have had their number pretty much this entire season.
Yeah, Bilibili just knowing how Team Chaser like to play, not allowing them really the space to force them to take disadvantaged fights, right? That's what Team Chaser love to do. Love to put teams onto the back foot and then really pressure those points, those little cracks until they absolutely tear these teams down. But Bilibili, they've got Team Chaser's number. They know how Prida likes to operate. They know where Kyo is going to be playing a little bit closer to the team sometimes. But the second that they see that little bit of support just disappear from the Ana, that's when they strike. And don't expect Alfie to stick on this Widowmaker. I would love to see it. But it is purely going to be looking for that first pick. And when you're not running up against a Reinhardt, it's a lot easier for a Widowmaker to find a stray Ana's head than it is normally.
Simplicity has never much been in Bilibili's dictionary. Pineapple even goes for a far to try and counter spam the high ground. Though swaps back off to more traditional characters, I guess. By that, you know, I mean Tracer and Ashe. No surprise here. Chaser, though, holding high ground strong. Very different approach by Bilibili to how they want to attack this. Whenever Team Chaser were doing it, it was X-Ray constantly poking and prodding at the high ground, but now it's them just trying to push under. It's like when you're playing against a Bastion as Ghosts. You want to get close, out of their sightlines, play so close to them that they can't see you. And that's exactly what we're seeing done. First tick nearly up on the point here for Bilibili, and they've managed to do exactly what they're looking for. Good contest, though, by Prida, denies even that from being an option.
But one tick already picks up. It was High J who was going below, and you don't want to collapse on the break. The CC, the shield bash, it's there in full, and now all of that distraction has allowed Bilibili to close the distance, to walk up the steps and really try and contest Team Chaser, who were just pushed all onto this high ground. It's where they want to be, but it means that you're right in the way of a nano boost of Kodomo.
Oh my god, that's a lot of damage coming out. 100 charge and 100 want for vengeance. What a cleanup by Kodomo. Holy god, this guy's on a rampage.
71% to Graviton in what is essentially one nano boosted Soria fight. And Team Chaser, they're backing out. They've got the Graviton. They will have the nano boost to enable Late Young if it catches them out. Something that Irony did have to invest for Billy to break Team Chaser's defenses, but Pineapple's already set up on this high ground. It's being currently spammed out, about to meet a Prida, but is able to coach gun the threat of the Tracer away and still hold this angle.
The high ground as well, and they know Prida's not there. The big question here is kind of the choke point now, right? X-Ray is forcing them through. Team Chaser trying to make sure that they can hold that. Wait, 800 just solo into the back line. One man on a mission managed to get on it. And Taro could this. That's a Winston against 5 people. What?
That's a Winston with a Primal Rage, I'll have you know. He gets a whole lot of HP when he pops that one. That Team Chaser not able to even move forward from the rally because of that anti coming out from Irony.
The fight's far from over though. We trade grabs either way. Pulls bombs in, makes it look real scary, but nothing too much comes of it. And Billy still holds strong. Off the back of those 2 first picks, I mean, I have zero idea how 800 did that. It was on the other side of the map. Nobody thought any like observers are like, yeah, that guy's dead. He's gone to the back line against like this guy is donezo. There's no shot, and then he just kills 2. I'm genuinely clueless.
Sometimes in Overwatch, when you have a problem, when you have a choke, you just need to throw a monkey hard enough at it. And Billy now out of the choke have control of so much of this space, and Team Chaser exhausted so many ultimates because they knew, like every other team, choke is the hardest point for every attacking team to push, so you invest everything to keep them there long enough. But now you have nothing for this fight.
I mean, it's nothing for either side. Let's be real. Everybody's broke now. This a bad investment for either side. Let's see what they can get here, though. Team Chaser have the position. It's not like the end of point B last time, where we couldn't see an approach by the defending team. Instead, it's 800 catching out of Prida. No threat of a flank now means that there's a much more open sightline for Irony, who doesn't have to worry about that dive coming in. Team Chaser buying all the time they can now, but they're running out of space to give away. Kyo has to use the nade to save himself, but at what cost? X-Ray goes down, and the rest of the team looks great to push as Billy not only zone off the point, but win the fight. Like, clearly doesn't even begin to describe it.
Oh, and they've set themselves up perfectly for this.
Oh my god, Alpha Yi, let's go!
Q and then recalling out of the way.
Give me more of it. Come on, feed me the BM. Oh, I love it, Moxie.
Well, Team Chaser are going to be wishing that they had a Transcendence in this next fight, because Kodoma's got another Graviton off of the back of that Irony boost coming through, and Team Chaser have nothing to stand in the way of it.
Graviton's in. Alpha Yi's, I don't know. I mean, Chaser's still doing pretty well. They've layered this support ultimates, which isn't the end of the world when you're talking about a nano boost, but it's also not great because now 800 can move into the backline, take down a Prida. This fight looking fairly even, but it's Team Chaser with all the space that they get to take advantage of, splitting this team in half, bisecting them so that they can find the fight.
But remember, they layered both support ultimates to survive that Graviton, and yes, they're about to hit aggressive ultimates themselves, but Billy have a nano-boosted Winston, and we've already seen the absolute mess that 800 can cause Team Chaser's team to fall into when it comes to positioning, and you don't want to exhaust all of your ultimates into dealing with one Winston.
I mean, we talked about how scary a 3.5-minute time bank was when Team Chaser had it. Now, Billy has it, and they've got to push even less far, so it's like scary squared. But Winston's into both back lines. 800 has traditionally done way better here, and 800 has help. Alpha Yi has come along for the ride. They've decided that now it's Zarya they want. Winston going back. Primal Rage low for both sides. X-Ray, though, does get out alive, and turns out that absolutely nothing happened, despite both Winstons heading straight for one another. The train crash results in only a death for Billy. Re-engaged by X-Ray is perfect as well.
Oh, but that was a whole mess of ultimates used by Team Chaser. Every single circle that was colored in, barring that nano booster, went into that fight, and Billy, they were wanting that. 800 going in, he doesn't even pop primal, he's not even given nano boost. They're just trying to bait out any of that utility from Team Chaser so they don't have it in this fight that Billy are now headed into. Now they've got so much advantage if they're able to sniff out X-Ray on this high ground, who's just waiting to collapse him on the support.
I mean, you can smell it on Kodomo. Even with 800 down, they still are thinking about this Grav Pulse Bomb. If Team Chaser overextend into this, which I think they're good enough not to, they do run the risk of getting caught off guard.
Billy just pulling back, giving a little bit more space for Team Chasers. Oh, Pineapple in rough water, not able to get out of that one. Billy actually throwing in the Graviton. They saw Team Chaser. They went a little bit too aggressive. The Pulse Bomb comes out, catches Late Young. Without the Zarya, Team Chaser lose so much peel, so much DPS, but Billy don't have the numbers to be able to capitalize.
Can I say it now? Their hand got caught in the taro cookie jar. 800 in the back line, and he's got all the full up you could ever want. A nanoed primal monkey, and he's separating apart people like they're slices of a goddamn pizza. Prit on the sideline now has only a couple of blinks to work with, dropped real low, but Billy don't have all the space I think they wanted from that many ultimates.
X-Ray is going to have the primal to keep this sustained, keep this touch going. Taro Cookie with the Ash and the Bob. Completely unimpeded right now. X-Ray jumping in, gets irony on the entrance.
Wow.
That is not what Billy Whaley wanted to see happening as they are pushed without the support, without the legs to stand on, back. But Team Chaser, they're capitalizing. They managed to catch Kudomo on the exit and force Billy to wait even longer as we barrel towards Final Fight.
I mean, these teams just keep butting heads. Ultimate after ultimate thrown in. Kyo's the only one with an ultimate up, though. And that nanoed monkey's a lot scarier coming from Team Chaser. The counter dive potential is just so real. Keep an eye on him. Already in the top left. X-Ray is large and in charge. In position to just drop on Asana. Doesn't have to use his jump to get there either. It's all about patience. All about waiting for the right moment. Headshot, so X-Ray out of position. This is the shot. Billy need to get forward as fast as humanly possible to try and punish this. Push the supports back to their spawns. Get the DPS out of the way. Make sure Taro Cookie doesn't have a good angle. Pineapple's doing exactly that right now. Just zoning. Now in. Team Chaser have one ultimate. Billy in all this time have built up ultimates of their own. Irony has got the nano boost. They've got Alpha E's pulse bomb, and it's Winston's in for either side. Perfect peel coming out of Hyunjae to keep Irony alive. It's about the nano boost now. Where's Irony putting it? The health bars are so low for Billy, but it's Komodo who goes down first. Lei Young has the graviton. Alpha E connects with the pulse bomb though. Tanks for either side. Is complete chaos on the point as the cart barrels towards the end of the map.
Lei Young able to get the Grafterman, but there are no members alive for Team Chaser to get the capitalization door. And Billy, keep that payload moving! And I said it. I get it, Phil Smug. I'm so happy you said Taro Cookie Jar, and I told you we were going to be getting to see a very long series between these two teams. And every single second that we're getting to see between these, it says everything is on the line. Every single one of them knows exactly what they want to do. They know the win conditions. They know how to prevent the enemy team's win conditions. And we're seeing the Winston's butt heads, the support lineups go after each other for the absolute throat. And the second that any little mistake is seen, mispositioning, ultimate misuse, every single thing is just absolutely jumped on and punished to high hill and back.
Look, I feel like this is the finals that we deserve, that chat deserves, that all of us wanted out of Chinese contenders. Team CC is gone. We've got close games again, thank God. And this is everything that is. That final pick onto X-Ray was just enough. 800's been putting up an incredible performance on the Winston. Both of them have been throwing just haymakers back and forth. It's been an incredible night of Overwatch. We're all tied up 1-1 in the best of 7, the first to 4. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot more Overwatch where this comes from. The games only keep getting better. We're going to be coming back with the rest of the grand finals in just a couple minutes. back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been good so far. Today is too much fun. These games just keep getting. We get 5 in the first. I'm thinking it's looking like 7. I've got all my Christmas presents wrapped. I'm ready to go for like the rest of the year if that's how long this thing needs to be. This is a series that we've been waiting for the entirety of Chinese Contenders, a clash of Billy and Team Chaser. It feels fated at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could bounce into the screen as well as you, but you know, you have the vertical height. I don't want to let people know how short I actually am.
No, you'd hit your head on the roof. She's too tall, honestly. I don't know what she's gonna do with all that height.
just let the illusion continue that
Yeah.
I actually share height with you. But no, we really are getting to see an absolute treat for Overwatch today. We joked about it a little bit before break, right? That CC, when they were in the region, we didn't get to see these close matches. They would always be blinkered, you'd miss it, and they were done. But really now we get to see not only close series, but the tests of the medals. Because remember, Billy are coming into today fresh. Team Chaser just got done with a very long, grueling
These guys
session
can't catch a break.
of 5 maps of Overwatch. And if we go the entire distance, that's what, 12 maps of Overwatch at least that they're going to be playing?
I mean, it's supposed to be a best of 7 series. First to 4, which we do appreciate the rule change, but it definitely can go a bit longer. Let's take a look, though, at what map we're going to next, because this one, Team Chasers pick again Dorado. I do not understand the mental shift of like, we got full held on Dorado on Wednesday to we are picking Dorado every series when we get the opportunity. But hey, I mean, it worked for him in the last series.
I mean, I was gonna say, maybe you don't get that mental shift when it comes for the first pick of Dorado today, but you just got done full holding your opponents. You have got to feel pretty darn confident coming into this map. The question on my lips is, are we going to get to see whether Dorado exists past point A?
Honestly, kind of doubting. I'm pressing X a lot here, but we'll see.
It's just a big spawn room, you know, point B, point C, it's just spawn room that people have to walk through, but it's going to be extremely interesting as, to no surprises, we will see the Ana and the Winston, but it's actually Billy who are going to be keeping this one going, and we talked about it, right? Ana in this series has been so integral in enabling the DPS, but also allowing those tanks to just get so aggressively in their face.
And I love that Billy have also swapped over to it, right? Like, it's a good adaptation to saying, hey, it's not going to take us 3 maps to pick this on, and we're going to pick a map 2, we're going to beat you with, and we're going to run it for the rest of the series, and we're happy to. But that's not necessarily win against Team Chaser, who start off their attacking side, just getting some casual space. 27% ultimate charge onto X-Ray, and they're doing about what they wanted here. Back up, get healed up by the On, and this is the cycle we'll see for just a little bit.
Yeah, both of these Anas waiting for that nano boost to come online, or a kill. That's when the go sign will be had. Billy already trying to keep themselves on that high ground, pressed a little bit backwards into the stairwell, but Alfie is able to get X-Ray out of the way, which does guarantee that Billy have just a little bit more control right now, as they don't need to worry about the Winston moving into their supports.
Yeah, Billy have been much more cautious about their Winston as well. Take a look at the ultimate charge, and you can already tell 800's up at 30%. X-Ray's pretty much doubled that, even though he died earlier, which goes to show, like, yeah, this Winston, he's not going to get as much ultimate charge. He's not going to get nearly as much for your Ana either, but he will be getting you pretty good value. And now Irony has managed to pull ahead because their Winston has been alive for longer. The counter dives in, 800, has the space, but no real opportunity to move forward. If you dive over this choke, you're going to get blown up. But if you hold it, you don't get any value. So the nano boost ends up being completely fruitless.
Yeah, and he's not even ahead of X-Ray right now in terms of primal charge, right? So Kyo's going to have the nano boost, allowing X-Ray to go forward aggressively. And then when he gets into a little bit of hot water, you pop the ultimate and make sure that you see yourself safely through. And all the while, that payload has just been eking its way out to make sure that Billy don't just have full control of the high ground, even if Team Chaser lose a fight.
Well, the latter of those will become true. Chaser will absolutely lose his fight. Billy have been really patient. Like, I think, you know, we outlined it with the Winstons, but literally everybody, and off the back of Alfie as well, they've done a good job, but they pushed too far, and we know exactly what we've been saying all night. You got to be careful about that. Both these teams are really well calculated, and the second you overstep your bounds, it's 2-3 picks going the other way.
Yeah, it's going to be who can capitalize on the Zarya grab right now, as Kodomo does have it and is immediately going to put it right into Team Chaser. But
that's
the
not
Winston,
that pretty.
He's still alive. The Zarya bubble comes out from Late Young, and now Late Young's got a grab of their own to put in. Titans just going to have the rally. That does mean that Billy will have the sustain to see themselves through if the capitalization isn't immediate. But Team Chaser still have the numbers.
They've got the numbers. They've also got the positioning, right? They're a team that needs to take away high ground from somebody else. And Billy never really got the opportunity. Yes, they got a recontest in, but they've never actually set themselves up. They've got one kill, though, which does give them an opportunity. They're back in with the rally, and Kodomo has a lot of charge, so he is a clear threat. Team Chaser actually respecting the hell out of it, backing all the way up, even though they had pretty much every advantage they could want.
Yeah, you don't want to grab a Nana Zarya just walking straight into death, and it is allowing Kodomo to try and approach that Graviton, but Late Young has it now. No Nano boosted Zarya to keep them from using it.
Grab in, and Late Young's trying to shovel damage into this Graviton, but it's a Prita who goes down in the back line. Rally up for Team Chaser. They layer the Sepultura for just a second. Kodomo coming up on another Gravitic Flux here in just a second, but they have to be kept alive. Irony doing so much work to keep these tanks up, but my God, was it worth it, Mox. What a bang to end the fight for Kodomo.
Oh, and Team Chaser invested the rally as well as the Graviton comes through, so there's not enough time for the armor to build up and allow Team Chaser to live through the grab. Billy now back onto that high ground, 800 with the Primal. Irony so close to that Nano boost. Even if Team Chaser are able to down this Winston just a little bit of HP, it's going to be right there to be buffed back up with 23 seconds left to spare. This is not what Team Chaser wants to be.
Certainly uncomfortable. I mean, they're getting flashbacks to Wednesday. This is not how they imagine this going. Pineapple's got some really pretty high ground, though, and Billy have all the ultimates in the world. 7 seconds. I know it's scary, Chaser. You've got to go in eventually. Oh, no. They send Taro Cookie to the pits. And 800th in the back line now. Tank's on top of the point. But, oh, that's a missed jump by X-Ray. This is falling apart for Team Chaser. This was supposed to be their map pickboxing, but it's all going to bits as Billy have got not just a full hold, but quite an impressive one at that.
The fury continues. There is no part of Dorado past point 8. We are cursed. We will never see past
It's just void back there.
Just a little bit of green screen, some scaffolding, you know, it's all cardboard cutouts. Smoke mirrors and really good optical illusions. That's the way that this stuff works, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. Well, we may not see the end of Dorado, but we may also not see Billy reach this. Team Chaser did make it to kind of the end of point A, which is, I guess, more than I could say for a lot of teams so far this week. Billy have got to at least match that. And last time we saw T1W really did kind of struggle at that initial choke point and getting past it. So the same could be said to be true here if Team Chaser could put on that same solid defense, get the same amount of hold, get the same amount of contest on the cart that we saw them do early on into the round, take a lot of time off the clock. There's still a shot. Like, everybody's getting full health here. It's not like it's just a Team Chaser thing.
Billy coming out on the attack. Probably not going to keep the Widowmaker, maybe the Pharah, but you're still going to be looking for that same sort of play that we saw on King's Row, right? Use the Widowmaker to find a first pick, use the Pharah to try and boof Team Chaser off that high ground a little bit for free right into the waiting jaws of Kodomo and 800. But Team Chaser, they can just keep that distance a little bit further away, make sure that they don't fall prey to this sort of tactic. It does mean that they give up a nice chunk of the high ground though, and Predator already right on that red roof looking for a support to jump on, but Irony's not going to be easy to catch a hold of with Fusion J right next to him with that break bash.
Unfortunate that Pineapple bonked his head on that lance, and that could have been a very dead Late Young, but it won't be. Billy now choosing to go for the re-engage of their own. 800 taking up a much more aggressive position. Look at this angle from Irony. That's actually really sick. There's nothing being shot back at them until that Tracer comes around, but the Tracer doesn't find the frag, so the Ana gets to stay. It's a good position, Mox.
Well, Aprita is back on that red roof though, uses the recall, is able to get safely back up to the high ground. And Irony, 50% to that Nano boost, is trying to hit it ahead of Kyo, but both of these Anas are actually keeping pace really nicely. And that is going to be the separating factor between these teams. Who is going to be able to enable that Winston first?
I mean, there's also a separating fact of one of them lost their Tracer about 5 seconds ago, which is tough to do. Billy push up off the back of that. They know they're not walking into as much damage, so they want to win this fight before those Nano boosts come online.
Yeah, they don't want to let Kyo get any time to try and hit that ultimate, with Irony being just a little bit ahead. And as we head towards that final checkpoint, Billy need to get that payload towards. They will have the advantage in terms of the ult charge. Make sure you're a little bit too far away for the Primal to get that first tap and immediately go ham.
Now in, just wants to make space. They just want to push this card to the end. Look at 3 members being zoned back. The Winston drops so low. They make their wrap around 800. About to pop the Primal. The supports are going to be nowhere in sight. The Bash is out. He's trying to wait out as long as he can so that they can create as much pressure on this cart. The entire time this Winston is here is time that the tanks are not being healed. There's so much damage being chucked into X-Ray and late run. They go down. The supports are back, but at what cost? There's no chance. You've got to find pick somewhere. It's all up to a Prita and Taro Cookie to get the contest. The bomb and the pulse bomb. They're enough. They've done it.
The DPS lineup coming in absolutely clutch for Team Chaser. The Pulse Bomb, the Bob, both of those ultimates so huge in stopping that payload. Remember, they did it all for a majority of that fight without Kyo healing them. And it has allowed Langston to build up to that rally. And Ione actually expended that nano boost. Billy, without the supports to back Team Chaser up, they really thought that fight was theirs to take. And now they've still got time. They can afford to buy a little bit more with ultimates. Team Chaser have got to be able to keep a hold. They can't use everything in one fell swoop.
Being careful of that. The rally engaged by Team Chaser, slowly deciding they want to move forward. They've still got more ultimates in the bank. That is by far the cheapest of their options to start the fight, but Billy respect it. Time just taken slowly off the clock here.
Yeah, making sure as well that Billy don't get that time building up ultimates, especially that nano boost from Ione.
There's a dive, counter dive by opposing Winston's X-Ray and 800. Who's getting more value here? Never mind, it's the Gravitons used on top of both teams. Late Young dropped low, and Billy have themselves set up to win the game. Team Chaser, I'm sorry, those DPS did just so well last time, but they're dead now.
Yeah, the support's in full swing for Billy. The Graviton absolutely beautiful. There is nothing barring one nano boosted Winston trying to charge up Primal. X-Ray forced to just watch as his body goes flying, his brethren piling onto that cart to keep it just a little bit longer at bay, but Langston and the Lucio is only going to last a couple of meager seconds. And Billy walk away with another map beneath their belt.
I gotta say, impressive contest at the end, but it's not gonna do it. Team Chaser, look, they're playing well. I put my Preds on their back, right? The entirety of my prediction is backing on them managing to do this well. Picking Dorado again was, I think, just as like they instilled a little bit of faith in us last time, but the full hold is so scary, especially starting out on the attacking side, having to have a go of it first and then never really knowing what you're gonna have to defend it's a tough spot to be in for Chaser. They get another map pick though. Series is only 2-1. This is by far not the end of the world for this team.
Absolutely, they can still make a huge comeback, and I mean, I think I see where they were going. Right, if you attack first and you're able to push that cart really far, then you don't have to worry about having to full hold. And you put such a huge statement as well. You make Billy panic because you just saw Team Chaser full hold T1W. And then likewise, if you get full held on that first point, you just full held T1W. You can still win the map, but Billy doing a very good job of just pushing Team Chaser, using the Graviton, making sure all of their members are costing up, not even needing an ultimate other than the Grav. Then the anti-need comes through and just absolutely decimates Team Chaser's support lineup, decimates the utility that should be there to keep the team up and around. And unfortunately, this is a win condition that is still going to be around no matter what map you run to.
And you know what's the interesting part? I'm looking for a big difference between these teams, right? We're quoting, yeah, this team's doing this well, this team's doing this well, you know, X, Y, Z, but I feel like they're both winning fights for very similar reasons, and they're both losing fights for very similar reasons. A lot of it comes down to the tanks and how aggressive or unaggressive they get, right? Are they backing off at the right times? Are they engaging and disengaging correctly? Because even the slightest misstep changes everything. I think both teams have been using their ultimate significantly better. Like you look back at the series we had earlier on today, and Team Chase were just chucking way too many ultimates into T1W, and it just wasn't working on this exact map, mind you, Volskaya Industries. It was not working out for them, and they lost because of that. But now you've got two teams using their ultimates responsibly, so the littlest bit of positioning error matters so much here. So again, you're looking at the tanks and supports to be the difference, which is so ironic considering this is Chinese contenders where, you know, DPS are king.
I mean, yeah, this is a region that is known and beloved for that DPS star play, right? When you think of teams, you normally immediately come up with a DPS's face that goes alongside them, Dia from last year. And at the moment, all of the DPS this season are vying to be that face of the Chinese season. But the tanks and the supports, they're stealing the show at the moment. They're doing such a good job at allowing the rest of their team to be comfortable, to get that breathing room, to be able to set up. And I absolutely love this from Team Chaser, the fact that Langston is going to be on the Mercy to damage boost Tower Cookie. It does mean that Kyo is going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but this is defensive Zen. It's harder to reach a defensive Zen when you have to first go through an Ashe with a damage boost.
I do have to say, I like the swap though, right? It's a change in the status quo. Bilibili have seemingly gotten used to this Ana pick and understanding how to play against it much better with one of their own. Throw another wrench into the mix, put a Mercy on the board now, create another problem that Bilibili have to solve. Maybe that gets you through one more map.
Oh, Slate Young just gets through a little bit of an engage right now. Langsa pulling absolute double duty, trying to keep that Zarya up and around, but no one is going to be there to save Kyo if Alfie has his way. And now the attention is turned to the Mercy. This is the problem when you're not running the break, that Tracer gets to reign supreme.
And this fight is scrappy as hell. Team Chaser have given up all of the space, quite literally all of. They are now attacking the point, ironically enough. But they didn't lose any players until now. Kyo moving forward, and it's all because of the lack of space. Like, it's a good idea. Yes, you kept players alive for it, but at some point you have to make your stand. Otherwise, Bilibili are going to move on to the point and then engage onto your supports who have nowhere to go.
I mean, it's beautiful mentality as well. Standard textbook dive. You farm the Nano, then you send the Winston in, and because you're running Mercy Zen, the healing output is just not enough to withstand the Nanoed Winston. Team Chaser will have the mines to drop over that point, so Bilibili don't have that snowball potential that they would want. Even if Kodomo throws in the grab, you could see actually use those mines defensively to make sure that Bilibili can't close the distance and turn the grab into an all-out win condition.
One more win condition here for Bilibili. They've got the grab, pulse bomb, the penultimate, ultimate combo that they're looking for. Alfie into the backline. Graviton hasn't been used. They want to get this Zarya without having to invest too much, but she comes out alive. Taro Cookie's down though, and they're pretty happy with that. Pineapple's traded though. Now, very big lack of damage for either side. That's going to obviously favor the defenders because they just need to live. They don't need to necessarily kill anything. They've got that defender's advantage. Now with the Graviton out for Team Chaser, yes, they grab, but there's still people in your backline. Bilibili are feeling large and in charge, and despite the fact that they didn't have an Ashe, they managed to find a way back into that fight, but the despawn or the respawn advantage for defenders is just too much.
Yeah, Tower Cookie's Bob, absolutely beautiful, comes into play, and Langster's actually going to swap off the Mercy and onto the break. They acknowledge that they can't let Alfie just have so much say in all of these fights. The Tracer is now going to be kept in check, or at least if Team Chaser is able to keep the Tracer in check, that is the hope with this switch, but Bilibili going to be coming in with a Bob of their own, and that's all the contests you really need to pull Team Chaser away from this high ground, away from this not really beautiful angle, but it definitely forces you to go a little bit more toe-to-toe with Alfie than rather stay away from them.
Alfie's kind of struggled to get along the backline here, though, is the issue, right? The high ground is so valuable, and the Tracer can't really deal with that exactly. Bilibili finding an engage, though, off the back of Pineapple's Bob, making space now. Looking for first tick. Bob out of the way now. The contest is real for Team Chaser. Down goes Taro Cookie again, though. First pick of the fight, and it's down to that Briggs End. They just can't provide the same amount of peel for that one extra player. Now Bilibili look to push in off the back, but X-Ray down. Tank's looking to be gotten out of the way. The Zarya is the next one in their sights, and that's Bilibili. I mean, what a clean fight for them to take away point. I say that? Hold up, hold up. This is not over. Back in, the Wrecking Ball is here. Ashe down. They've got to get this last tick through. It's so contentious. Wrecking Ball so low. It's Lucio's turn now. I think Bilibili cleaned it up. It got a little dicey there, but we've arrived at the finish line.
This is the problem as well for Scare Point B, right? When you're running against Tracer Dive. Because ideally, to be away from the Tracer, you want to be on the high ground. But the second you put yourself on the high ground, you paint this massive target on your back. And really on every part of your body, right? That the Winston is going to be seeing you and instantly just jumping straight for whatever space you're occupying. And Bilibili are doing a very good job at identifying targets that Alfie is going to be able to actually cross the distance and get to, and then targets that 800 is going to have to get to himself and force into Alfie's line of fire. And Bilibili, they've been able to do it on the attack, but on the defense, that tactic becomes even stronger. Because there's no way for Team Chaser to get on to this point without first running through that Tracer.
And you pair that up with the strongest Ashe and Chinese contenders. Now you've got a real problem, right? Because not only are 800 and Alpha E in your backline, but while they're holding space, Pineapple is taking your heads off one by one. This is a veritable recipe for disaster. for Team Chaser. They've got to find a way through onto this backline. They've got to do it quick because they seem very intent on not running this Ana anymore, which, I mean, I understand they want to stick to what their coaching staff said, and it seems like, you know, it's a good decision to throw something new into the mix, but Irony, I feel like they're just getting the better of the support duo right now.
And when you're not running Q on that Ana, you don't really want to run X-Ray on the Winston, right? So it's the Bull that's going to be coming out for Team Chaser, trying to find that dive that way. Billy will be able to spot it out. And that means that once again, Q's just going to have a little bit less support. Team Chaser falling back into the hopes that a Predator is going to be what they put everything into to make work. And that means that they have to win the fight on the front line. They cannot allow Billy to take it to their back line. Otherwise, that's where things are really going to fall apart.
And now I really ask the question as well, like, how much can you actually commit to going forward? Are Billy ready to make that counter engage? Answer, yeah, for sure. Alfie is just crawling all over them. He's like a cockroach in this room. Oh my God, he's stepping on their heads, walking around, blinking everywhere. They can't find him. He's kind of, you can feel him crawling up your leg, but you're not quite sure where. You swing at it, you miss, and then all of a sudden your Ana's dead. It's not a pretty sight.
Well, it's definitely not a pretty picture, so I thank you for the hours of sleep deprivation that mental image is gonna give. But Billy do already have a nano boost ready and waiting to put onto 800's back, so this dive is gonna be particularly brutal. A Predator's got to be able to close out that distance, find somewhere to put this pulse bomb, but Billy doing such a good job at making sure Team Chaser stay in the choke. They've finally been able to escape it thanks to X-Ray, but a Predator's still nowhere near able to get into the actual backline, and there it is!
I was a little sad about Kyo going down, but then a Predator did his thing, and all was made well again for Team Chaser. The Tracer is alive, and you know what? It's been a hot minute since we've seen something like that from a Predator. Teams have done a really good job of denying it, but whew, it's good to put some fresh boots on for the man.
Yeah, that's the Team Chaser that we're so used to seeing, right? X-Ray is the distraction, Billy all turned steel for Hammond, and then a Predator just BAM strikes, double pulse bomb kill. And that's all Team Chaser need to be able to set themselves up to take point A and move towards point B. And the Predator already 65% to the next one. But here's the thing, it's hard for a Tracer to get on point B unless you use those blings. Not able to get the kill, but still able to bully Pineapple a little bit away, guaranteeing Chaser a little bit more safe passage. Pineapple not able to find the last little bit of Bob as they approach that second point.
Alfie is constantly just patrolling this backline though. And you have to worry about, you know, yes, a Prit is going to be there, but you also are kind of lacking in a Tracer right now to peel for your backline. So Billy have got to find the right moment to push out, to stop worrying about that back push, to find a counter engage onto Team Chaser. And right now, it's just all about playing the neutral. Mine's down on point and on top of the higher ground. It's good presence by X-Ray, but it's not a fight won yet. Kyo's down. The counter engage isn't even there for Billy. Team Chaser slowly approached and then slowly died for it.
Yeah, they are dying with ultimates, though, and Team Chaser did invest those Hammond mines into theirs. So if the worst comes to the worst, they will still have options to fall back onto, as Team Chaser are going to be waiting just a little bit longer. Pineapple now on that position that every Ash loves to. Look at the damage already coming through. This is a couple of shots, but still just enough to try and dissuade Team Chaser from just booming straight into you. Backs out, widens the distance, and you can see the bouncer play coming through the Ana and the Brig and the Ash, all protecting each other, not just from Alfie, but also 800. If the Winston tries to go in, there is so much to stop you.
Quick push in, Bob on point now, controlling space. Good counter engage by 800 to make sure it doesn't count as best they can. Popping the primal to get away from the pulse bomb, but will go down for it. All the damage was there. Predator was not in the backline. In fact, is now just arriving there. Graviton late, but there's no follow-up because, again, a Predator was not in the backline. And Late Young goes down now for Team Chaser. The ultimates are still up for Billy. They still got a rally. They still have the shot to hold this because of those defending spawns, though a Predator's still up and doing his best to put this team on his back and get some of these frags.
Irony is still alive as well, and in turn keeping 800 up and alive.
Oh my god, this Ana.
And just able to hit the rally as well. So the opportunity that was there for Team Chaser, that should have been there with the Graviton, that was denied because the Predator just was not there to capitalize. It's all removed. Alfie does fall, gets a little bit too aggressively into the entirety of Team Chaser's team, and that does allow them to move forward a little bit more aggressively. But remember, Irony's been banking this ult charge. That nano boost is going to be there again.
And yet again, is it a scary, scary prospect? Length of pushing in, though. The rally keeps the team alive. 800, again, the first to die for the team. Irony this time down. That's a huge difference. in comparison to last fight. There's nowhere for Kadoma to go but back to spawn, and that's looking like a very concise point B here for Team Chase as they look up even the score, but I mean, with a minute less time bank is certainly not the greatest achievement. The time bank at all, though, is certainly better than we've seen them do before here.
Oh, it could have been even less time to work with because Pineapple actually goes down just as the ultimate comes online. And I mean, it starts to be a domino play, right? If the Bob comes out, then Irony can come back in, get a nano onto 800. The stall just goes on and on and on. But they're able to wrap it up. Team Chase will walk away with 2 points of Volskaya. Still time in the bank to play with as well, and now we'll see the side swap coming through. And I wonder whether or not we're going to see the Ana play coming through, whether or not they want to stick with the Zen, and that does, like we said, right, force X-Ray onto playing that Hammond.
And that's, I'm not sure that's the best position for them to be in, right? 800 looks so comfortable in this Winston. You can tell it's what they want to play, and X-Ray feels like they want to play the Winston, but Team Chaser are very set, right? Whenever they come into a map, they don't change the strategy for the entire map. There's no adjustment mid-map. It feels like they want to go back to the coaching staff, say, hey, you know, what do we do here? They're going to do exactly that, you know, as is said, as is to plan. And, you know, usually it works out for them, but we're getting into such tight competition that they still haven't found a consistent answer for Irony. And I'm not sure if this same support composition / X-Ray on the Wrecking Ball is going to be able to do that for them.
They were able to get point A last time despite Kyo going down because Aprita was able to just put up so much of a fight. And Billy are surely going to be looking for that Zen to go down again, whether or not Aprita can pull off the same play and allow Team Chaser free passage despite losing a Zen onto that side is really going to hang in the balance for this team to be able to pick up that point. As once again, X-Ray trying to just push through, take up that space, force Billy back, make sure that the rest of the team can go through. This is going awry.
Prita's done. And the position here is actually very different. Up on the high ground, we've got the Zarya above Mini Pack. It used to be the Ashe, though, playing in windows with the Ana, but now the Ashe is paired up with the Zarya. So they're splitting up where their squishy characters are, making it much harder for X-Ray to get on top of them.
And Aprita's just so far away from these fights. X-Ray trying to push people in. Pile drive pulled any sort of time for the Tracer to get a say. But Langstar is the one to fall, goes too aggressively forward, and Pineapple picks them off. The Hammond was not there to try and body bounce for the Ashe. Or rather the Brigitte, and Team Chase are going to be forced yet again to wait.
Wait, but make sure they don't get fragged. Oh, no. X-Ray's low. He is woken up, and Pineapple's there just in time alongside Irony to finish off the frag. Billy have not only stopped this push, but they have milked it for every second it's worth.
And worse for Team Chase, they haven't built up a single ultimate, though. They're close to the Transcendence, but that's all they're gonna have, and it should be able to let them go through point. But you know that Alfie is just going to be waiting for that Zen ultimate to dry up and then coming in with that pulse bomb and ruining their day. If we even see Alfie put a pause on that absolute reign of terror, because you can use it right now and stop Kyu from building it up right there.
Oh, wait. Alfie's hiding with the pulse bomb here in the back line. They got to be real careful. Keep it on the kill feed. Alfie still looking at him around the corner. He's got a support in his sights. They know exactly what they're looking for. Pulse bomb, though, I think it just missed for him. Yep, Pineapple's got the Bob to go on point. Tar Cookie does not. Aprita does have a pulse. That's the big thing we're looking for to end this fight. Irony with the nano boost. Can they get it off? They do just in time. Onto the Zarya, making all the space to Kodomo. The Transcendence is too much to heal through, though, and there's no shot that Zarya's going to have just enough damage to try and finish this thing off. Late Young stuck in the middle of the point with nowhere to go. Monkey on Mini, but that thing only regenerates so fast. Zarya now forced off. It's Team Chaser. I think they've got themselves a point A, Mox.
And Late Young is going to have a Graviton for that point B. Kodomo will have one as well. The thing is, Billy, they're closer to other ultimates. Team Chaser will have two. Just the Graviton, just the Bob, and just one shot at getting this point B.
Well, they've shown us improvement time after time again. Let's see if they can step up to the task here. Show us a point B with 20 seconds left on the clock. Do what they haven't done prior. Let Young in. Graviton up for both sides, just like you mentioned. It's all about the staging. They've got 10 seconds to decide where they want to take this from. Seems like he wants to go down main. There's no real good way to contest Pineapple right now, so they're going to try and contest the rest of the team. Dropped low, 800, caught in the grab. Grabs either side. In fact, 1 second on the clock. Where's the touch? It's there just in time. X-Ray slept on the point. Another fantastic one by Irony. Rally now used by Hyunjae. It gives them the sustain they need to see this one out. And now with the Brig Packs being enough, zoned off point. It's so difficult for Chaser to actually find the engagement here. And yes, it's a point B. It looks good, but it's not going to be anything more than that.
Oh, beautiful target focus as well. When that massive fight is going down and everyone's brawling and trying to get those ultimates up, I only takes just a little bit, precious seconds, to get the anti-nade to connect with Kyo. And so the Zen becomes so fragile that you're forced into a state of keep yourself alive rather than dish out damage. And that means that the Transcendence is not built up in time. So Billy are able to just out-sustain Team Chaser, who now have set the precedent. 3 points picked up on Volskyra. They've got to be happy they were even able to get on to that point A with how the first part of that push came through. Billy, they know their win condition.
Things were made abundantly clear here. Team Chaser, no changes. We know exactly what they want to do. Billy, same thing. What are you looking for the first pick here to open up this fight? Because a lot of the time, it has been space made by 800, but it's been patient play by Billy. And with, 3 minutes 15, it's not that much shorter than a standard time bank. But, I'm not sure they have the same amount of leniency as they would in a lot of those other pushes to try and take their time to find Kyo or Langsa.
I mean, talking of finding Kyo, that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? Team Chaser are playing Linksa on this Mercy. You have to be able to prove that the Mercy is better than running the break, because we know Kyo is going to be vulnerable. Billy were not able to let Chaser just swallow up the ground, push their support to the absolute brink, because the brig was there to play bouncer for the Zen. That option is not going to be there for Kyo, so you have to stop this team from moving through choke for absolute free.
One of the big differences we've seen out of Billy specifically is trying to split the focus between the Zenyatta and the Ashe, going towards one, feigning it, and then diving the other while they don't have a Mercy to pocket them. Probably going to be the same exact case here. Now forced down on the point, Zenyatta rotated around the left side, the Ashe on the right, completely separated away from one another. Keep an eye on the tanks of Billy as they prep for the next dive. The health bars are low, and pressure from Aprita looks to get him in the back lane. They're going to have to go all the way around. I think they're happy to take the high ground here. This is a really interesting rotate.
I mean, not only are they happy to take the high ground, but look at the ultimate charge on Irony.
Oh
800's
my
just
God.
been taking so much damage that the Nano is up and ready, and this is when the true move comes through.
It's so close here. Pineapple's down, though. Big damage gone. Billy, the question, do they want this fight? Winston in. I honestly, that felt like they said, hey, we're just going to go for a reset, get what we can, but there's nothing there for them.
I mean, 800 goes through, and you would expect the Nano boost, but yeah,
no,
he dies
are gonna
before
get
the
picked
Nano
off.
can come out.
How do you stop this?
The stagger pick is hit. Kodomo's trying to keep a hold of the high ground, but he's being pushed. Is able to get just a little bit of peel from the rest of the team, but that Zarya bubble is out in a matter of seconds, and here come the staggers. What should have been a fast reset for Billy is very quickly just turning into time draining away, time that they desperately need. And with 1 minute 44 seconds on the clock, yeah, they've got ultimates, but they've waited enough time that Team Chaser, they've hit ultimates of their own.
I mean, that was a painful one. That's, what, 45 seconds off the clock just for those staggers? That's brutal. They get them up, but a minute 30 is still a decent enough time bank to get you through this kind of thing. But you're playing in Team Chaser. Take a look at the check marks, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lot going the way of Team Chaser. It's going to be a really hard engage to make.
You know as well that Team Chaser are more than content to just wait for Billy to move into them. They're walking into the grab, they're walking into the hammer mines.
Tough fight, but we've seen Billy do stupider stuff. And now into the back line. X-Ray finds the first pick onto Pineapple. Yeah, no surprise here. Actually, you know what? Big surprise. Not a single ultimate was used.
The hammer mines were used from Team Chaser to try and cut the supports away, make sure that the line of sight from the Ana was not
Fair
there
enough.
to keep the tanks up and alive. And Billy are more than happy to just wait that one out. They've still got time, they've still got one more push to play with. And they need that space though, for 800 to be able to use that nano boost to get on top. And Alfie is going to provide a distraction, able to touch the point or try and find one of the supports, anything that lets Billy move through choke.
Oh, he's taking the scenic route. No pulse. Oh, just missed. Gives up the element of surprise. It does trade a Prita for Pineapple. That honestly worth it in my book. Every day of the week, both the star players gone for the team. Transcendence now out for Kyo. Jungle off the map though. Transcendence is not healing that. 800 with a big one on the late young. Now only one tank to contest it alongside the Bob. But once that goes away, it is free play for Team Billy. They've got pressure in the backline. They've got a Graviton. Kodomo, by all means, just wants to hold on to this, but has to use it. Good follow-up by the Winston. That should be enough to crack open point A, but we are looking at a very, very intense point. Bravo, Moxie.
Oh, B is going to be absolutely brawl. I'm just having to go onto the Lucio just to get back in time to that fight, but where you are really going to be concentrating right now is Pineapple and X-Ray. Both of these players are going to have ultimates that are going to be able to zone the point off. Pineapple doesn't want to use it to start off because Team Chaser are just going to burn it down with Bizarria. Likewise, Extra is going to want to hold on to those hammer mines until overtime hits to completely shut Billy's movement down. It is a game of ult chicken, but Billy have to move on to the site. Team Chaser can afford to wait.
I mean, I like the Bob first here. Honestly, I think it's a good engage. It gives them the pressure they need. Oh my god, that was close. The pressure's on. Billy have got all the heat in the world, but they don't have the kills quite yet. Kyo and X-Ray down. Remember, respawn advantage to the defenders right now. If they just keep the players alive, they're good. But Alfie's popping off. Hyunjae showing up at the kill feed. And Billy come for a map number 3 and a match point up against Team Chaser.
Billy. They played rock, paper, scissors, or Hammond Mines, Bob Scissors. And do you know what? Bob beats all. He's just dropping a nuke into play because it really is unfair how much he can do, right? He puts down so much contest and is pretty well easy to counter. That's why everyone says, oh, it's not that impactful in Ultimate. There are so many things you can do to shut him down. Sleep dart, shields, defense matrix, everything. In the heat of an overtime fight, the one thing that you're looking for is stopping the other side from walking forward. You can't just turn your back to deal with the Bob because then they're going to be firing from the high ground. You could see, right? Just holding that angle, making sure the second that the Bob got sent in, Pineapple would just be still on the ledge, still hammering or rather Team Chaser's damage right home. And oh my goodness, match point has never felt closer.
All right, let's be real with ourselves, right? The Bob's nice, the fight's nice. I'm just glad it wasn't a C9. For once, we don't get it. Thank God. We're not going into match point on that.
Right? You know when it's the Simpsons theme and they're all just running home and it's like 0 days since an accident at the power plant?
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep it kind of going.
Well, we haven't reached the nuclear option quite yet, but we do have Billy looking real good to try and end things here. Now, the question is, right? I'm sorry, Team Chaser, you have picked maps that you have historically lost on. I think 2 times now in a row. I want to see a change up from them.
I want to see a return to the Ana. It worked so well for them, and it definitely feels like the call for it was use it to deal with T1W because T1W know how to best deal with a Predator, how to make sure that the Tracer's antics are kept in check. The problem is that we are seeing, right, when you don't have a Brigitte, you allow the other Tracer to get into your backline and just so much discourse. It's the tactic that Chaser absolutely adore to use against their opponents, and it's being turned against them, and yet they still, even though the Ana has found so much value, keep sticking Langston on the Mercy.
I mean, like I said, it's for that one map. You're talking about a team that is very organized, coming from underneath Chengdu Hunters, again, another top team in the Overwatch League. They're going to be well put together, but that also means sticking to your guns. You know, if coach says play the Mercy, you're going to play the Mercy for the whole game. And that's that because it's supposed to work. And I believe in that coaching staff. They've done a fantastic job with Chaser so far. But the question is, do they swap back? Absolutely. And like you said, I think it's the right call too.
Yeah, we're going to see Kyo go back onto that Ana, and I'd really love to see as well, if they want to have this McCree, then not only do you deal with the possibility of Pineapple, nay, the inevitability of Pineapple coming out on the Tracer with a little bit more to guard your support lineup, but you also deal with the potential of Alfie actually coming out on this Echo. Hitscan is going to be there to keep the antics in check to make sure that you don't get pincered on the ground and on the sky.
Yeah, one of the nice parts here for Team Chasers, I don't think there's like a control point map in the pool that's necessarily bad for them, right? Nepal was tough, but I mean, that's about the hardest one that you've got going for you. And this is Oasis. They can keep playing dive. They can fit the Ana in. And this is where they're real comfortable. Aprita can really start farming the backline. Like you mentioned, it's going to be really difficult for Alpha to actually find any value. But Pineapple on the ground doesn't seem to be having any problems.
Billy able to just use that split focus right now. They've pushed Team Chaser off the high grounds into these side rooms so that Kodum was actually just going to be able to keep them a little bit more at arm's length. And Alphys, despite not having the high ground approach, can still just chunk damage into them with that Echo already 44-50%, barreling towards that first ultimate as Team Chaser still kept in check, not allowed the high ground they so previously fought for.
I mean, it's been the theme of the day. If on control, you can get the first tick away from Team Chaser, you're in a good spot. But Team Chaser coming back for it with a vengeance. And Andrew Winston in the back line. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Kodomo just blows him down. Now with the re-engage, not a tank in sight. Billy know they've got this one. They just have to be a little bit careful about how they apply the pressure.
Yeah, you can have a nano boost to try and save your Winston, but if there's a Discord and Brigitte barreling away at them, they're not going to be standing for long, and Kyo gets caught between Pineapple. And this is the staggers. This is what we talked about. This is what we've seen from Bilibili all day. The second they're able to pick one person out of Chase's composition, they go hunting for the rest.
They've done a really good job of it as well. This dive is just, you know, a right hook followed by an uppercut. The combos are perfectly set up. Every single time you think you're getting hit from one side, you're getting hit from the other at the exact same. Bilibili now, because of all that, have a ton of tools to work with here. Ultimates-wise, they're large and in charge, but not Tracer-wise. Aprita still establishing that he is the man to be beaten on that hero. Trying to use the ultimates to get back in now. Bilibili don't really have a clean engage, but Team Chaser haven't made up all the space quite yet.
Yeah, couldn't get on to the point, had to first go through 800's mines. And that means that this point percentage, it's still ticking in Bilibili's favor.
And they're not done with it quite yet. Their food is still yet to be played with. Graviton in for Kodomo. They believe in this push. It is a big whiff. But at the other same time, it did give them space. So they're kind of okay with it. And now Alpha, you can get into the back line. It looked like a whiff grab from Kodomo, but it might have done exactly what they needed.
Zoning ultimate. It's the pure definition of a zoning ultimate, and at the moment, Chaser just zoned right into the high ground. Finally, Taro Cookie able to pop the trigger and fan the hammer right into Bilibili with the Deadeye. As we're seeing Kyo just fighting for their life, the peel comes through the Ana back onto the high ground. Team Chaser, this is where they want to be set up. You still have to worry about that split focus coming through. Pineapple putting up a little bit of pressure on the low ground, forces you to take your turn away from Alpha U, who just is going to sweep right onto your head and punish if they turn. The Team Chaser do have a couple of win conditions of their own, right? The Graviton, the Pulse Bomb, both of them can be used in tandem.
We know how good they are at holding these points. I think that the problem is, though, with Alpha E on the board, it makes it much more difficult to actually protect this on it, to protect the high ground. There's no real free space anymore. There's no guarantee of safety. With 800 diving into the high ground, they've got to use all their cooldowns to do it, but Alpha E is just chucking in damage that can't be contested, even with the McCree in check. Bilibili have no problem applying enough pressure to make that cookie crack.
Yeah, the Cree, he was just waiting on the sidelines. He wasn't actually on the high ground so that Alfie had an easy target to hit. But it meant that the support lineup was just a little bit more juicy. Bilibili now 93%. They've got the duplication. They've got the hammer mines. Team Chaser, they've still got the grab. They've still got the pulse bomb. They weren't able to use those ultimates in the last fight, and they'll have them now.
Oh, no, but that's not how you want to start things out. The Brig's next to go as well. Lensa's the one in their sights. Alfie, let's see how well you can play the monkey. We know you're good on a lot of characters. Can you get Alfie off? Not the cleanest jungle, but, I mean, it kept them away. We're joking around with them. It was a good enough ult, Mox.
It was a perfect ultimate if you want to keep the support lineup busy, and that's exactly what Alfie is able to do. Without the Ana, without the Brigitte, a big, soft, juicy, easy to hit walking hitbox of a Winston is absolutely going to be seconds against Bilibili, and it's match point. They take the first round of control, they set themselves up. All they need is one more round to fall into their favor, and they'll have walked away with not only the first series and week of Contenders Season 1 of 2021, but also, you'll be one extra point behind all of us.
Hey, shut up. Team Chaser made they made the reverse sweep last year. Just do it again. Just, come on, just do it again. Same thing. 3 maps. That's all I'm asking. Anyways, they've got their pressure. Everyone knows what kind of heat they're under. This is the team that was supposed to succeed coming into the season. This is the stack team. Bilibili, yes, they look like a fantastic roster on paper, but Team Chaser has so much pedigree. This is a team that has everything to play for, and Bilibili are looking for a very, very good start to their season. Keeping the same composition as we saw on the last point, holding their space. Team Chaser getting the high ground, though. It's going to be pretty hard to actually contest Kyo from up here. They're managing to keep the on up there for as long as humanly possible. Taro drops down, but it's X-Ray, the first pick in the fight. Pineapple poking and prodding from the side lane. 800 comes in, eats all of the CC, and yes, 800 goes down, but now there's nothing to contest Pineapple here.
Different map, same tactic. Force Team Chaser onto the low ground, force them into a fight with Pineapple. And if they try and take the high ground, you displace them with the Echo. Alfie is just reigning absolute supreme, completely unchecked, because Taro Cookie is so preoccupied saving the flashbang, waiting for Pineapple, waiting for the dive to come through, that the Echo is just getting absolute unchecked reign. 50% to that first duplication, and Team Chaser forced onto the low ground, forced to just try and pre-fight towards that high ground.
Now back in, Team Chaser is certainly feeling every second of this right now, pushing on. You don't want to be the first person to die, but the health bars are so low, and the point is so open. Aprita finds one, but it's traded back for another. The backline now opened up for Team Chaser. They don't have a way in, but Aprita is their way out. Moxie, Alpha Yi's down, and this Tracer is taking it upon themselves to try and win this point.
Oh, Nano coming onto Tower Cookie in the absolute nick of time to save them from the brig. Actually lets them charge up their Deadeye and hold Transcendence. It can save you from a lot, but not headshots, not the Creole. And Team Chaser will be able to get the flip, but not yet. 800 still putting up a fight, still rolling around. Has the Hammond Mines if they want to dip into them, but CC'd out. Can't pop out the ultimate. Billy with the contest.
Oh no.
They're still going.
Oh no, this is very real. Tarkook's down. Alpha Yi does not have anybody to contest them in the sky right now. Even once this primal is popped, even once this duplicate is over, there's nothing left. What a beautiful separation as well from the DPS player on Monkey, mind you. Great mechanics for the duplicate. And now Billy, they've regrouped the 6 pineapples down, yes, but they've got mines to control the point as well as a graviton coming up. They would love to use that combo here. How quickly can Kodomo hit it is the big question. Ball swinging like a madman inside the point right now. A bit of levity in the moment, but the graviton's in. He's looking to get the mines down. He is the answer. Pile drive in. No mines used by 800. They hold on to it, but Team Chaser have won the fight.
Beautiful counterplay actually coming out from Lei Young. Anticipates 800 trying to drop the hammer mines over Billy's grab, and grabs ever so slightly to the left of Billy's, catching 800 and pulling him out of it. And he knew that was the possibility. That's why he didn't drop the hammer mines. He did not want to be pulled out of the animation by being sucked into the grab. Does mean that Billy will still have the ultimate now, and you can shut down that space and then use Pineapple's own Pulse Bomb to try and find that support lineup. It's going to be extremely hard to get past Langster on this break, but you can see 800 looking for any information, any sort of swing that's going to allow that displacement to come through.
Let's be real, nothing is easy here anymore. Those mines are gorgeous. They separate the entire team. That McCree is in no man's land. There's not a healer in sight for this guy. He's got to push forward into Billy in order to get into LOS of Izana, which he has managed to do so and actually gets out alive somehow. Taro Cookie now regroup with the team, but they're all shoved inside this tiny room where Alpha Yi can spam away. Taro Cookie, though, with the penultimate pick. DPS now down. X-Ray as well. Main tanks being traded both ways. Oh my lord, this is a mess, Mox.
Team Chaser need to win this fight when it's 97% to Billy. They cannot afford to lose one. They have to be able to have that stagger, that point contest still in. And Billy are slowly but surely losing members. The staggers, this is what we talked about. This is what both teams try to do. They find one pick and then they spiral it, squirrel away 30-40% of an extra point because of all of the others that fall into their lap afterwards.
But peep the ultimate Transcendence duplicate Graviton versus a late Graviton at best plus a Deadeye.
And if you wait just a little bit longer, 800 is going to hit those hammer mines as well. Taro Cookie with a really nicely timed flashbang can stop that ultimate combination, but he's going to be looking for that Deadeye. He needs the zone.
There's a dive onto one. Duplicate's denied to Alpha Yi, but forced back off the point now. Billy are looking for the touch. Graviton in. Is there follow-up? No, the Deadeye zones! Pineapple for 3, though! He's got the pulse just in time! Bubbles are down. Ball's on point. Looking to touch it back over. Billy can't quite get the full tick. Aprita has a pulse bomb. He's trying to backline. Nothing found by Aprita. It's Billy's fight to lose. Irony's going to be coming back with the Transcendence of their own minds to zone off the rest of the point. Billy are looking good for it. They want to take this one 4-1, but Chaser have so little to get back in with. That's looking like it's all they've got. And Billy with one of the most decisive score lines we've seen the entire season so far, established themselves at the top of Chinese Overwatch.
Billy walking away with victory in the first week of this season of Chinese Contenders. And what an absolute way to start off these series. Oh my goodness. We get to see so many players just immediately making a bid to set themselves up as the best in this region. Now that we have that gap, that space, that absence that CC left, all of these players know they can be the ones to clinch that title, that they can be the ones to put their stamp on this region, show that they've got the chops, that they can move up to Overwatch League. We've seen it from Monk, right? Used to be on Team Chaser, got moved up onto the team of the Chengdu Hunters. They're looking for that same level of success, and from what we've seen today, every single one of these players has a chance, has a bid to make it into Overwatch League.
And you know what? It honestly feels fitting, right? You've got a team like Team CC that looks so dominant. They get players that go up. Dia ends up going sadly out. Why the hell did nobody pick him up still? I was told we have to complain about that every chance we get. Why did nobody pick up Dia? Anyways, beside the point, now you've got Pineapple coming up. And I feel like this is just the absolute best anime arc for this guy to come up on his. Again, this is a season that Pineapple has to make a statement as well, because next year he is eligible to go into Overwatch League. We knew he was the only person capable of going toe to toe with Dia last season. He is establishing himself this season. Again, he has to put himself at the top. And with Billy with 800 leading up the tank line, with the support line being as flexible as they were today, this is a team that wants to put themselves at the top, that wants to put themselves at that next slot to continue the history of dominance in Chinese contenders.
And I mean, they've got the chops to do it. We've seen they've got the mechanical prowess, but they've also got the game sense, right? Because you can see when the strategy changed, and it was when Team Chaser moved away from the Ana. The second that they saw the Ana going away, when the Zen was coming in unguarded by a Brigida, all of Billy knew it's open season, and if you've played Zen in any part of Overwatch history, you know exactly what happens when you lock that hero. It is not about how long you live, it's about how much you can do before you go down. And Billy did absolutely everything in their power to make sure that Kyo and subsequently every tank on Team Chaser stayed down.
It was a tough fight, but I mean, we're here now. Let's take a look at the final standings. And honestly, what took so long to get to was so rewarding. Look at all those 3-2s. The reverse sweep by Team Chaser earlier today. The hell of a fight they put up in the grand finals. I don't want to take too much away from them, but Billy, I think, are the real story here. This is a team that has come out ahead earlier on. They had a slight bobble up against First Baptist Fighter. That is the only loss that they have taken this season. And ever since then, it has only trended upward. This is the team to watch for Chinese contenders. And I think I can say that without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Every single one of these players are honestly top of their field right now, or at least in this region, right? The DPS lineup, absolutely beautiful. The tanks, what can we not say about these guys? The positioning, the prowess, the ultimate management, the wherewithal to not use an ultimate in a fight that you've lost, instead wait for your opponents to burn themselves out and then come back in with an absolute banger, and the supports. Irony's Ana, Irony's Sen. It's just absolutely beautiful to see.
And you know what? That leads us to the most important part of the night. Let's take a look at predictions, where we're just gonna ignore one of those. I come out for it, but look, I'm not at the bottom. Look at Thibble; he's all the way down there. To make fun of him. But Mox, you, Rich, Red, and Kenobi have done a fantastic job this entire time predicting the winners. Billy, I honestly, at this point, if you didn't see it coming, you got to be crazy.
So when are we locking you into the loony bin then, dog?
Not soon enough. I'll tell you that much. You got me around for the rest of the season. Speaking of the rest of the season, ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole rest of the season of Chinese contenders. The close games, the crazy storylines, they're just going to keep coming. That looks fantastic. We've got all the teams lined up for us. This is just the first week that we've got ready for you. So keep an eye out on the Contenders YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go follow the Overwatch Path to Pro over on Twitter. You'll get all the action that you need to keep up with Contenders, not just China, but NAEU, Korea. Follow everything that you can. It helps us out massively. But as for tonight, that's all that Mox and I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Go get yourself some water. It's been a long night. Get yourself vaccinated. Stay safe. And we'll catch you guys for the next round.